G'day and welcome to the Matt Fradd Show. You might notice that this set looks a little cooler than the In Between Two Ferns set that I had going on, so pretty pumped about it. Really excited about this interview as well. I sat down with one of my best friends in the whole world, Ennie Hickman. I've known him for a long time. When I moved to America, my wife was living with him and his wife. They were youth ministers together. We got to know each other super well. We've known each other for a long time, and we just sat down and chatted for about 3 hours about a lot of things. Loving your neighbor, and why that might mean your actual neighbor. You know, how does orthodoxy and orthopraxy go together? We even get into a lot of stuff that's going to get us in trouble. We talk about maybe, the prohibition on marijuana, whether that's a good thing. We talk about Black Lives Matter and gun control and racism and all the sorts of things that make people just super happy. So, but this is why I love these long-form discussions. We get to think through opinions in real time. Neither of us are claiming to be infallible, so you don't have to get super angry at us if you disagree with us. You can just disagree with us, and that can be an okay thing. But you are going to love today's episode. Before I jump in, though, I want to say thanks to two of our sponsors who help make this possible. The first would be Exodus 90. If you're a man out there and you want to take your spiritual life to the next level, check out Exodus 90. That's exodus90.com/Matt Fradd. When you type in /Matt Fradd and you put in your email, you'll get 3 exclusive videos from me that kind of prep you for the Exodus 90 experience. It's basically 90 days of asceticism where you read through the book of Exodus. You're fasting, you're praying more, you're giving up social media and television. It's a real purifying experience. And you don't do it as an isolated dude, you do it as a group of men. So it's a real powerful bonding experience. I highly recommend that you at least check it out. Exodus90.com/Matt Fradd. Check it out, Exodus90.com/Matt Fradd. As I say, when you put /Matt Fradd in, you'll get those 3 exclusive videos of me kind of prepping you for the whole experience. Please check that out. I've known a lot of guys, and this has really turned their life around. It's amazing. Secondly, I want to say a big thanks to Covenant Eyes. Covenant Eyes is simply the best filtering and accountability software on the web. If you struggle with porn, if you're tempted to porn, if you have young children who will almost certainly be tempted to look at porn, you need to go right now. Stop it. Seriously, stop the video. It would be a better thing for me and for you. Maybe not for me, but definitely for you. If you stop this video and go download Covenant Eyes, it's such a great idea. It's not just a filter that blocks the bad stuff. It's accountability software that'll send a report of your online activity to a friend. When you type in the promo code Matt Fradd, you'll get a month free trial, so you can just check it out. If you don't like it, cancel it. You won't get charged. That promo code again is Matt Fradd. So go to covenanteyes.com, use the promo code Matt Fradd at checkout. That'll let them know that we sent you, and it'll also give you a month for free. Let me show you this 30-second clip about their new screen accountability. It's pretty awesome.
Screen Accountability monitors your device by frequently capturing screenshots of your activity. Our artificial intelligence analyzes those screenshots for explicit imagery. But don't worry, the images are blurred to protect your privacy. Any concerning screenshots are compiled together into a report, along with a sample of other screenshots that show typical activity, which we send to a friend of your choosing.
All right, here's the show with Ennie Hickman. Enjoy. Yes. We're going. This is it. This is the goal.
This is as good as you're going to get.
Hey, how are you?
Great.
Did you see the old set? Have you watched any of it?
A bit.
You can lie.
Honestly, I don't consume a lot of media. I know that sounds like high and mighty and self-righteous, but I try.
Does a bit.
A bit.
Yeah, but I say things like that all the time too.
I just
I'm
really...
off social media. It's been about 7 months. Seriously.
That sounds so self-righteous.
I know it does.
No,
It's the hipster thing.
Honestly, I don't. I say this all the time, even with my musician friends. No offense, but I don't listen to their albums. I don't really listen to them. I'd rather picture you in my backyard.
Yeah.
And having the real conversation than watch you on YouTube.
But you do consume media, obviously. It's not like you're not listening to music or watching television.
I don't
Really?
know. We
Flight
haven't.
of the Conchords live in England?
Only because you showed me.
That's a lie. I
It's 100% true. You totally let me into that world. Yeah, I know. We haven't had a TV in our house in 11 years.
See, that's a self-righteous thing people say.
I'm sorry.
No, but it's not a bad thing. It's just I say the same thing. Like, don't have a TV. But it's like, yeah, but you have a phone that you watch YouTube on. You have a computer that you and your wife watch in bed together. You may as well have a TV in your bedroom. I'm not saying. Do you guys watch shows together?
No.
Really?
We used to. It was TV drama, CSI Miami. I mean, that's literally, I think that was our last show. I take that back. Downton Abbey.
Oh, that is quite good.
Downton
It's slow, but
yeah, that was a little weird thing that happened. Actually, we didn't watch the last episode, so we actually didn't. For us, it's not over. We still haven't watched the final episode.
You don't want it to be over, so you'll just keep.
No, yeah. So yeah, no, we don't watch. We
So what
don't
do you
watch
do at
shows.
night then? Other than sex.
That.
Yeah.
She reads. I usually Twitter is usually that's kind of my go-to for news and information. And yeah, there's some videos on there.
But at night, what time do your kids go to bed? Like 8?
We try 8. Well, now that we have teenagers, there's really putting them to bed. So we have sort of 2 groups of kids. We have like the littles and the bigs. And the bigs, I mean, sometimes with homework and, they're up till 10:30, 11. And I can't wait up that long, So
I'm an old man.
Yeah, they plug in their phones, turn in their phones, and then we say goodnight. And we go to bed. So we try to turn off all electronics by 9. And not too much. So I have seen pictures of the old set. I have
To get to your question.
Anyway,
this is much better.
It looked
too
serious.
ominous. Yeah.
It was a serious show.
Yeah.
Was it?
Serious?
Yeah, serious.
This looks less serious. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, this is lighter. It's
So-
brighter.
This is Tasmania. So
Can you do that? Did you just literally offend?
Well, yeah, I
Hundreds
did.
of
But Tasmanians are
thousands
known
of
for being
people?
offended. My mum, my mum and
You're
dad.
canceled in Tasmania.
So I live here. We drove to Melbourne, and then we took a ferry to Tassie. It's like an overnight ferry. You went with the whole family.
Is it when you drive on?
Yeah.
You drive your car onto
Yeah.
it
And you spend the night.
on the ferry?
Yeah. It's a big ferry. It's not like a little ferry. It's like hotel. Yeah, it's like a cruise.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You drive your car onto it,
Yep.
and then there's rooms
Yeah.
to stay in.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like a the
cruise.
combination of a cruise and a ferry, really, because it wouldn't be like a big cruise ship, but.
So it's not strictly transportation. It's like something you do for fun.
Well, I think that it probably is transportation, but since it takes an overnight, they may as well. It's called the Spirit of Tasmania.
So I always forget how big
Yeah, it's huge.
that
Australia is.
continent.
I think it's roughly the same size.
It's a
as,
continent, right?
Yeah.
I'm not good at geography, so it's a continent.
Yeah.
And it's huge.
Yeah, and it's its own island. It's the only island that is a continent.
I mean, technically, aren't they all?
Yeah, but you've got like
Islands.
South America and North America aren't an island, right? They're different continents, but they're
all connected.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so it's big. It's about the same size as America without Alaska and Hawaii.
Really?
It's bloody big. People don't
Huge.
realize it's big.
And then, so how big is Tassie?
Tasmania. I don't know. It's probably the size of Rhode Island. Or something.
And like
bigger.
the United States, there are the different regions
We have
and
8
different
states.
people types.
Not really.
Because in the U.S. we get really,
Y'all have a longer
can't.
history than us. A much like where was it, like the 1700s? You guys started.
yeah, something
Whereas
like that.
we became a country in 1901,
Right.
I think, January 1st, 1901. But we weren't there as long. You guys have a really interesting history in America that kind of divides North and South,
Right.
in a way that we don't have.
Yeah. Well, states. I mean,
We have states,
Being
but-
from Texas,
Yeah.
it's like a country. It's its own little deal going on. We have our own history.
Yeah.
We have our own.
Yeah. Come take it. What's that thing with the cannon?
Come take it. Come and take it.
Love it.
The Battle of Gonzales, right? The Mexican government had given all these provinces and cities within Texas, formerly Mexico, and they had given them different armories, cannons, things like that to protect the city from indigenous people or other warring peoples.
Yep.
And and Gonzales. So in the Texas Revolution, Gonzales has a cannon, and Mexican army is approaching, and they're like,
Who's like,
come take it.
oh, the Texans?
They made a flag that said that, with the cannon on it, and says,
They made a flag that said that?
come and take it.
It's like the...
Like, if you want it, come get it.
Wait, 17th century, 18th century? It's like the 18th century version of trolling.
Right. Yeah, no, 1830s.
Hashtag come take it.
Yeah, 1830s. March, actually. We just celebrated Texas independence. We still celebrate Texas independence in Texas, even though we were a failed country.
Whereas Texas has these kind of romantic hopes of one day becoming its own nation, Tasmania, we always think, feels like inferior. Like they always get left off.
Yeah.
In fact, when this bloke cut this out, Austin, he had left Tasmania off.
Of course, right.
I'm like, dude, you have to have Tasmania.
Yeah.
So he made it. But the point was, here's two of the things my brother and I did.
Is that to size? I know it's not there anymore.
Yeah, it's to size.
Should we grab it?
Yeah, I'll put it on.
It is to size?
Yeah.
See, because like if you were doing a map of the U.S., you would include Florida, obviously, but you're not gonna include all the keys.
Right. Well, that's right.
All the little tiny. Are there also?
No, that's the size. Yeah, for sure, that's the size.
Wow.
And there might be like really small islands that wouldn't be worth even putting up there. But
right.
no, that's
But
its own state too, which makes it different.
Oh, gotcha.
So we have about 8 states. That's one of them. Anyway, so the point is, we're in Tasmania, and my brother and I would do 2 things to offend. Thank you.
Nice.
We would do 2 things to offend the Tasmanians.
Just pour over. You pour it over.
The first thing was we would say, "Do you guys take American money?" No, gosh, I've been here too long. Do you guys take Australian money? That's really offensive. And the second thing we would do is we would walk around shops, me and Tom, and we'd say things like, "I can't wait to get back to Australia." And then we'd look around. And we were only saying that because we heard that they didn't like it, but maybe they didn't care, but that's what we did. Anyway.
Cheers,
Sláinte.
bro. Is that what you say? In
Yeah,
Australia?
Irish. Sláinte means to your health, I think.
To your health.
Yeah.
You feeling better?
Yeah, am I right?
That's good.
So tell me about what you're doing, because one of the things I've loved about you since I've met you is your beard. No. One of the things I've loved that you've been doing for so long now is your community.
Look how gray it is. P.S. See the gray coming in?
What about it?
But
you rock the grey. I can't do the grey.
It's weird.
I don't think I'll go grey. I'll just keep getting bald.
I was sent to the beauty store the other day to get some,
To get something for your wife? Or?
My daughter. Mm-hmm. She wanted to do the pink, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you do. And it was the first time ever I was, in a section where there was like hair dye. And for a split second.
Really?
Yeah. It was the first time ever.
I hope you shut
I'm
that
turning.
down.
I did.
Yeah.
But 2 seconds. I looked at the men's, little section. Was like,
It's not cool. Maybe it is cool. I'm offending people who are watching, but it's not cool. Everyone can tell you've dyed your hair and your beard and your eyebrows black, and it feels worse when it's a priest. Oh, doesn't it?
I had a friend who, for years, black. He was a priest friend. Yeah, black hair. And we all would say, "Father, you're not kidding anybody.
Yeah.
This is, no.
You would lie about it.
Yes." And then overnight,
He was grey.
he was gray. And we were all like,
See, I like when people own it. So like Tim Staples, my old boss at Catholic Answers,
Right.
he'd be like, he'd keep his hair brown. He's like, I'm doing it to 50, baby, and then I'm letting it go grey. And he owned it. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, it is. There's something cool about all gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird.
No,
they get
it's not.
wiry.
You look awesome.
Thanks, man. So do you.
No, I don't.
We've aged well.
No.
You don't look any different from like the day I met you.
No, that's not true. I was thinner. Around the face. Anyway.
How long have we known each other?
So I first met you when I flew to Texas in 2003, I think. Or maybe 2004, 5.
Well, I know you arrived to move there like
In
the
2005.
same weekend
You
that
had
I
a
was
hurricane?
leaving.
Oh, and that. Okay.
Yeah, it was sad. You're still a little bit.
What? I think you left for Arizona.
I left for Arizona the same weekend you moved to Texas. It was sad because I think we had met before. No, we hadn't. No.
We had.
No, we
'cause
hadn't.
I came and visited.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I came and visited. Remember, you were doing some work out in your garage? And I came out and I was helping you.
Yeah,
I think that's when I
yeah,
first
yeah.
visited, and we drove to Dallas during the hurricane.
Yes.
And it took us like 20 hours, my wife and I, to get to
Yeah,
Dallas.
we didn't leave. We stayed right there.
That's right. So
Yeah.
that was the first time I met you, and
Yeah.
I hadn't moved there yet. That was just me
Hurricane
visiting.
Rita.
Okay.
Hurricane Rita. Yeah, you guys took off. We stayed. We hunkered.
We should have done that
We
too.
hunkered down. That's what you say in
Hunker
Texas.
down.
Hunker down. Yeah, hunker down. Gosh, that was a tangent. We went way off.
No, that's all right.
But we have no. But yeah, we have hit. We do have a long history. 2005.
Yeah.
And no, I don't think you look any different. There was a meme recently I saw
Of me?
of you.
Oh, gosh.
And it was 2010 now, and you haven't. Yeah,
What
you
was the
haven't
meme?
changed.
What did it say?
Something
wanna know?
like, no, it was like Matt Fradd 2010, Matt Fradd 2019, and then it said "Feel old yet?" or something like. It didn't make sense. It was one of these memes that didn't make any sense. I
Is
don't
that just
get the
'cause we're
meme.
old?
I think we are. I think
Yeah.
we're old. I don't understand memes. Most memes, I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But that's a huge deal. I have teenagers now who will send me memes, and I'm like,
That's got to be a weird
don't get it.
experience.
it is. Yeah, it is. But
You have older kids now. When you had younger kids, did you sometimes think, I'm just going to be a cool dad and I'm never going to be the kind of dad that my kids look at and shake their head? Or did you embrace that from the get-go?
I was a super cool youth minister.
Yeah. You're a very cool guy.
Thanks. Who knows if I am or not. I try to be
You are.
authentic, whatever. Does that sound self-righteous too?
It just sounds inauthentic.
Genuine.
I don't know, man. All I know is I'm trying to be authentic and live my truth. Okay.
It's true though.
I am trying to live it. But
No. I think my
because everyone thinks I'm
My
not going to be like my
thought-
dad or my mum.
right. My thought was, my kids don't stand a chance because I've worked with adolescents for
got
two
this.
decades.
Yeah.
There's no way they're ever going to get away with things. I'm going to know it before it happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to be proactive in all these ways that I saw parents of the kids that I was working with. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'll be here for this and that. So I think, there were some certain expectations that I'd be a better parent because a better parent of a teenager because I was in youth ministry for so long.
Have you found that to be the case?
No.
Really?
No.
In some ways, you're probably more tuned in, but
I think they're a little bit, if I can speak.
candidly, do it.
Yeah,
Of
I
course.
think they're a bit indignant to that fact that I can say, hey, I know what you're up to.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't
You really
know.
don't,
You really don't,
actually.
Dad. You
Yeah.
really don't. Things have changed.
Yeah.
And they remind me of that often, that the millennials that I worked with in 2008, 2000, even
Totally
2015,
We talked
things have changed so
Well, here's one
much.
example we talked about last night. So when you and I were youth ministers, it felt like the chastity talk was paramount. You had to give the chastity talk.
Right.
Or as you were saying last night, none of these kids are having sex.
No, there was no sex going on, but we were still giving the chastity talk.
And why is that? Tell people who aren't, you're taking these
first of
Steubenville
all,
conferences.
let's be honest. If you're going to a Steubenville conference, there might be 10% of the kids that are, clued into, the broader culture. They're general kids, but 90% of those kids are youth group kids.
But that's not even why you're saying they're not having sex, is it? And
I don't think it's available to them.
Well,
I mean,
not even
not to offend, but I think there was a point in time where we were giving this chastity talk, like, hey, your girlfriend, you know,
But now people aren't
they were
dating.
all looking at us like, I don't have a girlfriend. I wish I had a girlfriend. I wish I
knew how to speak to a person.
Right. I wish I knew how to. They're awkward. I mean, one of the things, you know, if you've heard me in the last 5 years, I walk on stage, the first thing I say is, "What's up, nerds?" You know, because I mean, and it's offensive, not offensive. They all admit it. Like, they're at a Catholic youth conference. They're at a you're at a Catholic thing. I mean, you could say the same thing to, you know, a men's group. You could walk in and be like, "What's up, you dorks?" You know, it's okay to admit that we are a subset of society, right? Like this YouTube show. I mean, you know, we can pretend, oh man, we are
like at least 800 views this week.
We are killing it right now.
Right.
But compared to the broader world, I mean, this is
nothing.
This is nothing.
Yeah.
This is
and
nothing.
you said that, I remember the allusion you made was to Trump. You and I, this is way before we even knew he would run for president. You were like, clearly that guy has no one in his life who cares about him enough to say, dude, your hair.
I know.
And your point was that like we can get so immersed in our little Catholic culture and like I'm speaking to people, I'm huge, and you were mocking that.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, first of all, if you Google Ennie Hickman Fox, it'll probably be the first video that comes up because I did that on.
You did what?
On an interview. I did that bit about Trump. Yeah, friends of mine are like, dude, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that bit anymore.
Bit?
No, I do that bit anymore
bit?
about making fun of his hair. But yeah, the point I was trying.
I think now it makes sense because he's in office, but you weren't saying anything about him when he was just a dude.
No, the point being that we can, if we're not careful, we can get into this idea and this little subset of a culture where everyone's sort of cheering us on and affirming us and saying, great job. I mean, LeBron is another example, you know, when he left Cleveland the first time, right? Well, I guess the only time, when he left, everyone was like, how could you do this? Well, he had enough people around him to say, yeah, that's a good idea. You know, nobody said no, hey, don't do this, isn't a good idea.
Was it a bad idea? I don't know anything about basketball.
Yeah, it was a bad idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean,
Did
he
he come back?
Yeah, he ended up coming back. But the idea is that I think in Catholic culture or Catholic celebrity culture, we can get, you know, we start to believe our own hype when the only people around us are just saying, yeah, you're just great.
And those people can be 10 people, 20 people.
20,000 people.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? So yeah, there is this fear, I think, being a Catholic. Yeah, Catholic. Prophets got their heads cut off. Yeah. And I don't mean to sound dramatic, but there is, I at least, when I'm in these situations, you know, and you walk on stage, they announce your name, and, you know, everybody's really excited to hear what you have to say. One of two things is happening there. One being, am I speaking the truth? Because if we're really preaching the gospel, it should make people a little bit uncomfortable. Okay. And I'm not sure that cheering would be the reaction to that. Or what we're talking about, are we just speaking to the same people over and over and over again, the wrong people, right? The people who perhaps, you know, are, you know, they're just yes people. They're already on board, right? So if I get up there and I'm preaching the gospel and they're like, yeah, well, is that the place? Is that the place for the prophet? And I know. Obviously, there's a difference between prophets and teachers and preachers.
There's also a difference between speaking to a youth conference where everyone's come and worn their T-shirt and they're there to see you and they're hyped up, and speaking to a high school filled with students who have never heard of you before. Like,
Totally.
Yeah. So when I go out and speaking about porn, people aren't like, yeah,
The porn guy's here.
right. Or when Jason gets up and speaks, I mean, he's just good at what he does.
He's the only one
He's
who
the
can
best
do
at
those.
what he does.
Really and truly. I mean, I don't know your experience with,
Jason?
the gym floor.
Oh, yeah, I hate it. But I can do it well.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's like my worst situation.
Yeah.
It's so
I have it in my contract
hard.
that everyone has to be in front
on
of
one
me.
side.
Or
Well,
else
yeah,
they just
because
stack them,
right, because
everyone.
sometimes they're
And I'm
all
talking
the way
about
around.
porn spinning in a circle. That's just
Getting
to make
dizzy.
it harder. Yeah.
No, it's one mic in the
Yeah.
middle of the gym,
No. Yeah.
mid-court. It's hard.
No, but Jason is so good at what
is.
he does. He'll
He
get
is.
up and, I mean, he's the one who convinced me of saving sex till marriage. I knew the church taught it. I didn't really know why. I mean, I wouldn't have saved sex till marriage. Or I would have tried to convince my wife if it hadn't have been for him.
So tell me about that, because so it was media or it was a
It was
talk?
media.
Wow.
Cameron, we were on net training. She gave me a CD of Jason Everett.
Wow.
And it was one of his public school talks. So he didn't mention Christ or faith or anything. I remember laying in bed that night, listening to it from my Discman because I wanted to talk to this cute girl, Cameron, about it the next day. And I distinctly remember thinking, this guy's not Christian because
He's not
so
mentioning.
good.
Oh, right.
Because he's so good.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Isn't that sad? That's what I thought. And then I found out he was Christian and a Catholic.
Right.
So,
But
yeah, that
Catholic
changed
media.
me.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes I fall into this trap of thinking media is not really doing evangelization. It's not actually impacting people.
Yeah.
And I think that because I'm at an age now where very little impacts.
But it's interesting that you say that media impacted you.
did.
That's
and I have people write to me daily who
Right.
tell me Pints with Aquinas has helped them tremendously.
Wow.
And I have to believe it. Honestly, I think you get to an age where you stop being easily influenced. So when you were 17, you had like 100 life-changing experiences in a year.
Right.
Now
Every
that we're
day.
like in our 30s,
Right.
it's like, okay, I'm tired.
Well,
I don't wanna-
it's ordinary.
the
It's
formation
ordinary.
part of our lives has kind of been done. I mean, there's a reason they want to accept you into the military or even into a monastery at a certain age, so
because
they can form you.
You've already, which is a reason I believe that the divorce rate is so high now, because I think that people are getting married later in life. They've already created their worldview.
Would you get married now if Cana died?
That's a great question.
I don't think I would. I wouldn't want to impose this on anyone.
Gosh, I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe. We would see. I guess
It would be so weird, but
it would be super weird. Yeah.
But
do you believe? You're not a believer in the one.
no, I'm not a believer in the one.
Right.
No, I think it's
so
I think it's not Christian. I think
it's
a
not even.
Platonic
It doesn't
idea.
even make
It's a
sense.
pagan
Yeah.
idea.
You get that question a lot though. How do you know she's the one?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
I
it's
love
a
what
myth.
Jason Everett back to Jet. Ah, Tasmania.
Adios.
Sorry, Tasmania, but you know. You know what we should do? Like every episode, we should just put it at different places.
I hope it's not like a voodoo map, right? Like that actually happened right now in Tasmania.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It actually fell off.
What were we talking about?
Media. I don't know.
That doesn't matter.
Well, but what I
What?
The one.
the one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I don't believe in that. But people do ask that. Yeah, Jason Everett has said like, okay, you want to know if you're compatible? You're a man, she's a woman. That's it. You're not compatible.
Right. Well, because love is a choice, right?
It's partly that, yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, in my day-to-day, my ability to choose her again every day, you know, that for me is, what is marriage? What's the spousal relationship? It's I'm going to choose you again, even when you stink.
Yeah.
Even when I've had enough. Even when I'm annoyed.
even
I'll
when
choose you
even when
again.
our bodies are falling apart.
Yeah. I don't know about our sex keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Sorry, baby.
No.
Sorry, appreciate it.
No, totally.
No. Because of our ability to continue to choose each other. I think that when you start to break down and you know them better. Yeah, more knowledge, more love, greater choice.
Being comfortable with each other.
Yeah, totally. So I think, so you know that, it's a myth, you know, that you're gonna have a feeling
Yeah.
or knowing
And that-
who's the
yeah.
one or anything. No, you're compatible.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think when most of us get married, including us who are Catholic, like we really do have some vague romantic idea of like this passionate adventure. But after you live a bit, you're like, this is a battle. And that's in part why I'm saying I don't think I get married again. Because this
No.
is, unless the Lord was calling me to it and I knew it, but
Yeah.
it's a battle.
Well, with the amount,
It's like
amount
Frodo
of
and Sam has gone to
relationship-
Mount Doom. You're like, all right, I just need to go back to the Shire.
Lie naked in the shower.
What?
What was that?
I don't know what you're talking
Yes,
about.
no, they're laying there on the mount and they're reminiscing. You don't remember this part? They're talking about they're reminiscing of the Shire, and I believe they're talking about. Maybe I'm dreaming this.
They were laying naked?
No,
in
they
the
weren't. Yeah, they weren't. But they
were
were
dreaming?
they were reminiscing.
I don't think that's...
Somebody look that up.
I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, I think it is. Maybe I was dreaming it. No, the amount of relationships that I have, and now that I have teenagers, I think that would be one reason why perhaps I wouldn't remarry. Like you're talking about, this battle of daily choice, I love you, in your mess, that sort of thing. I've got 7 little relationships that I have to keep intact. I really don't need to add another one.
I'm thinking of Brian Regan's joke about how, like, as you get older, there's just a lot more complications. He's like, I would hate to date now. It's like, hey, I was thinking we could go have a picnic and maybe we could swing by the pharmacy because apparently I urinate too frequently, pick up some pills, you know?
Right.
Having to, like, slip that into your routine.
Yeah, no, it's not, we can't
No, but
do that
earlier
again.
we were talking about people not having sex, and my point wasn't that it's like Catholic nerds, as you said it.
Yeah.
It's just like this, like society as a whole is like
sure.
binging on pornography. They're not getting married. I think people are having less sex because
They are.
we're not having.
Yeah, it's proven. I mean, yeah, I think there was, the early 2000s, we were worried about kids having sex. We were worried about, kids doing drugs. And actually, if you do the studies, they're doing less drugs and they're having less sex, which is not at all what we thought was going to happen,
But
right?
not for a good reason necessarily.
This. I mean,
Yeah.
they
This is your
get
drug.
all their kicks
All their
there.
dopamine
I
from
get all
that.
my kicks there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that society has found another addiction, there's now, there's
Netflix.
the dopamine.
That reminds me of some Russian guy who gave a talk at Yale or some prestigious American university. He says, you
It's
American...
not very prestigious. Well,
Isn't it
was
anymore?
Yale included in that
no.
scandal thing?
Oh,
Did you hear
was
about
it?
that?
Yeah, I did. Anyway,
Aunt Becky?
he said, you Americans are boring. We Russians are wicked, but interesting. And I kind of feel like it's a lot more interesting to like get dope from a friend behind Walmart
Yep.
with your mate and go smoke it in a car. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just
No.
saying it's more interesting than just I'm going to watch Netflix.
Well, what happens when you get caught there, right? I mean, I remember 5th grade. We used to steal stuff. I don't know.
I used to steal stuff all the time.
Yeah, steal
Porn,
stuff.
chocolate bars.
We had. There was this store in the mall called Yaga, and it was like a Jamaican clothes or something, and they had these big ponchos, and they had huge sleeves, all the colors, Did you have Gerbeau jeans in the? No,
What are they?
in Australia,
With
Gerbeau's.
the big pockets, like the army
Yeah, the
tank
front
kind of things.
the front pockets. No, not. There was Skids. There was Z Cavarici.
Fred Durst, was he from Limp Bizkit? Is he those kind of jeans?
No, those were Jinkos.
Okay.
Those giant. Yeah.
not cool
No,
enough to know.
yeah. Anyway, orange and red and all these.
Okay.
Anyway, beside the point. But they had these big sleeves, and we could walk in to grocery stores, and it was baseball cards at our local baseball cards, right? And we got caught and chased out of the store, And this is a store that I would go to with my mom all the time, right? When I was a kid.
Yeah.
And there was a consequence to my bad choice when I was doing something physical, right? I was doing something in reality. It's like, the old parking, when I was a kid and I was being promiscuous with my girlfriend, we'd go park.
Yeah.
We'd have to find a place to park behind, or like, and then get in the back seat and hurry up or whatever the case. I mean, and it's not right, but there was there were natural consequences to what we were doing. This private addiction that's accepted. I mean, it's completely okay, right, to just spend all of your day on your phone. Well, as long as you're working, social media. Well, I don't like social media, but I have to do it because of work.
Yeah.
But I have to, but there's email, and that's work, or that's, we have this completely accepted thing that there's really no natural consequences that we're seeing yet, right? So like the idea of, just this availability of porn, the availability of, all of these things that can release the same dopamine as parking with your girlfriend, there's no natural consequences to it.
Yeah.
Right? So it is, I like that idea. We're a lot less interesting now that we have the phones.
I just read a book.
You just wrote a book?
I just read a book.
I feel like you just write books, though.
I did actually just write a book. I submitted it to 10.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought I'd go with a
Did they
different
like
publisher.
didn't they sell like in Hallmark stores or something?
10?
I don't know.
Oh no, 10's like super traditionalist.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyway, I read this book called Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I think I'm getting his name right. And yeah, you read it? It's a good book. It's a dystopian novel. It's not as good as 1984 or Brave New World, but it's good. It's a short book. And he talks about a day in the future when novels are illegal and firemen don't put out fires. They go and set books on fire. And if you have books in your house, they'll set your house on fire as a consequence, right?
And everything's digital?
Yeah. Yeah.
All information
There's like 4 TV. Everyone has a room that's a television. There's usually 4 walls in a person's house that's the TV. And it's stupid media, just like clowns doing tricks, and everyone's just become stupid.
Right. But no books.
No books. They're illegal to have books. Yeah. And the way that the government communicates to you is on the screen. So people can still read, but it's only on the screen.
Clowns.
Yeah, different things,
Crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, Ray Bradbury, he was writing about this Fahrenheit 451. By the way, it's called Fahrenheit 451 because that's the temperature at which paper burns. And he had come up with this idea of a seashell that would be in people's ears, and it would like put them in this state where they would go to sleep, and it would sing to them and play music and things. This was back in the 50s, and he was going for a walk in Los Angeles on this park, and he saw a woman holding a radio like a Walkman-ish thing, with the way he described it, wires coming out in one of the woman's ears. And he said that the husband that was with her may as well not have even been with her. Yeah. And he was so scandalized that he had just become a prop to his wife.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, God, if he could see us now.
Yeah. Earpods. AirPods?
Yeah.
What are they called?
I don't know, but I mean,
the ones that just,
I know what you mean.
The Apple things that are...
I know what you mean. They don't...
AirPods.
All right.
Yeah. My son, he'll say, I can hear you. And I'm like, no, but I don't care. Take it out.
No.
Like, I don't need that. If you're around people that you love and care about, I mean, not to say that you shouldn't care about people in the airport or anything like that, but yeah, I'm like,
I also think,
take them out.
I just think a good rule of thumb is like, if you go through a checkout, don't be on your phone.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes though.
No, but this is one of those things where you just have to accept you're a bad person if you're going to justify it. I do it too, but I'm a bad person. You just have to know, cut that crap out. This is a human being who's at their job, and we're treating them like a machine.
At what point do we stop that though?
Maybe never. Like, let's throw the whole system
you have a radio interview.
All right, good point.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, we're on our way here. You got to get on the radio.
Yeah.
It's your job. It's part of what you do, right?
Well, that's something I scheduled. I had a choice to do that. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, because like when I'm, yes, it's very rare that I have to be on the phone in a grocery store, but you go, wow, this is my job. This is my job.
No, totally.
And I have to go to the store because Kana needs something or the kids need something. So I've got to do 2 things at once. What's that called? Multitasking?
Yeah.
It's wild to imagine a day when
I think
multitasking wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
You talking on a phone, even talking on a phone in a car. That's
right,
not
yeah.
even a 50 years ago. That wasn't
Let alone texting
yeah.
in an airplane.
Right.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Doing business on an airplane.
Yeah.
It was so much more chill.
This episode is only going to appeal to people in their late 30s.
These guys are old. What is wrong with them? Yeah, no, so back to the idea of media. So you were in a way influenced. I was blessed. I was blessed. My upbringing was a lot more communal. We lived a block and a half from the parish. So our pastor, Father Donovan, would walk down like every other evening. My dad had a bottle of scotch for him.
Oh, that's nice.
It was just his, so it was, so he'd come down. We had steaks in the freezer for him, and we had families that were around. I had multiple, father figures, multiple mother figures. My mom was involved at the church. There was so my reality was my evangelization didn't necessarily come through media.
Mine neither.
So I have a so I don't know if it's because I think it's changed for me. I think in the beginning I was going, no, it can't be through the media. Like we need to be face to face with people. That's the way, Jesus came as a person, and so it's going to be personal. It's going to be the incarnation again. It's words made flesh in me next to.
Right.
But
You are right.
but now we're in an age, where like you get the calls or you get the emails that say your show is, has changed my life or changed the direction. I once believed this, but now because of media, you've influenced people.
So here's the difference, and this gets us to the work you're involved in, right? So at some point we decided, and I've heard you say this, that evangelization was essentially convincing people of certain premises and conclusions, right? Certain truths. Mm-hmm. And so it's all just about, here's why the Catholic Church is right.
Right.
Here's how to respond to this Protestant objection or this atheist objection, which is very concrete, makes you feel a little superior too. It's also just helpful if it's true. But like what you're doing and what you're obsessed about in a good way, I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I am. I'm obsessed. Yeah.
Is realizing that we're human beings who need relationships.
Right.
So it's not just like, so the person who listens to Pints with Aquinas and has like an intellectual conversion, they'll be screwed unless they get plugged into real community.
Right.
It'll last a week or a year.
Yeah.
And then they'll have nothing. We are church when we're community.
Right. Yeah, I would say, speaking of obsessions, I think that probably for the last 2 decades or so in Catholic evangelization, our Catholicism has been obsessed with belief, knowledge, books, consumption of talks. From the early days in the Charismatic Renewal, you would have, there were tape recordings.
Yeah.
And then it was CD duplicator. Here's the talk. Pass it on, share it with people.
Yeah.
Paper, this type of stuff. Obsessed with this idea that the more I know, and the more I believe about what I know, the stack of books that I've read somehow equals how holy I am. And maybe you don't even believe. Maybe you don't believe that. Maybe you know that it's right belief and right action or right practice, but the perception, right? So somebody who has read a lot or somebody that knows a lot, and I'm sure you deal with this comparison. Obviously, you probably compare yourself to smarter people.
Yeah, it's not difficult.
And your perception of them is that they are at a higher level of relationship with God because they know more, because they believe more, because they have some kind of superpower brain that is able to consume and then regurgitate, right? So the holiest people of all, this is, again, back to this kind of obsession that we've seen in the last 2 decades, holiest people of all are those of us who get a microphone. To now I have all this belief and I have all this knowledge and I'm so convicted by it that now somebody's going to hand me a microphone and I'm going to share it. It's why every time we get off stage, right, there's some young kid who comes up and says, I want to do what you do. How do you do? Because they see something that they're going, whoa, you have celebrity status, you're smart, you're obviously holy because they've put you on stage, right? And so this obsession, I feel like, is sort of, it's coming to an end. It's breaking down. That model is breaking down. I think the clergy, I don't call it a sex crisis. I don't call it a sex scandal. I think it's a money and power scandal, if anything, because we can talk about that later.
Sure.
But the idea that the more I believe, the holier I am.
I don't know if I ever thought that, though. I don't know if I ever thought that.
No. I don't think we think that, but that is the perception we.
Is it?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I think the reason I wanted to do this is I saw people having influence in a positive way, and I saw the way my life has changed, and I wanted to do that for other people.
Okay, here's an example, right? Guys that we know now, Chris West, right, can preach on a topic, and our perception of him is, well, he's got no problems. He's got it, he's got it until you know him. Yeah. Right. And that's what I'm saying is that, like, as a young person,
you look at people on stage and you think that's their life. I remember that's why I found it so difficult to do family prayer, because I had these unrealistic ideas of how the Everett family and how Scott Hahn's family must pray. Right. And I would get so angry that my kids couldn't sit still and pray the bloody rosary quietly.
Right.
And I would hate myself because of it.
Yeah, exactly. Scott and Kimberly Hahn, perfect example, right? Of, we just need to be like them. I need to be as smart and as knowledgeable and articulate as Scott Hahn. And that's my sort of goal. And we look at the saints that we lift up. I mean, again, it's knowledge. It's this idea of I've got to know more, I've got to believe more, right? But what I think God has been calling, us to, Kana and I too, and I think the church in general right now, it's like this right orthodoxy and right belief. Yes, like I'm a believer.
Essential, right?
It's essential, right? But orthopraxy and right practice is something that we don't necessarily talk about that often, right? You have to believe these things. You got to do these things. But when do I start to practice this? It's a matter of saying, you'll hear it often. Here's another example. We need to strengthen our core, right? The church needs to pour into their own people. We need to have these Bible studies and men's groups and women's groups and retreats and we're all just, at what point do we say, okay, you're ready? Like, now go, get out there, go and that one word, 2 letters, at the Ascension, when he's like, go, make disciples. I think for us, when we hear those words, we think that going and making disciples means starting a Bible study at the church, when it's like, wait, but these are the same exact people that were just a part of the, they're also the volunteers of the youth group. And they're at everything, they're at Daily Mat. Like, going and making disciples does not mean pouring back into the core. It means actually going.
What you're saying here is like Jesus is like, go. And then, like, Peter turns to James, like, on Monday night, I'm going to have a Bible study. Yeah,
exactly.
You're going to do that? I'll go to your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What are you going to be doing, right? So,
and obviously, like, you're not saying it's not important for us to do that and for us to strengthen each other. And that's not your point. I just want to make that clear for people who are watching, who are accusing you of that in the comment section right now. Yeah, it's not what you're saying.
I mean, Right.
But you're saying at what point do we go out? And I want you to...
At what point do we go? At what point do we begin to go out, right? Because if you look at, great example, Peter, Andrew, these guys are, what did they know? Our first pope, I mean, I have 50 times better theology
I see what you're saying.
than Peter, right? What did he have? Well, he knew
He didn't have a robust understanding of the Holy Trinity like Athanasius
What did he know about the Holy Spirit? I mean, that, perfect.
Yeah.
Stay here, wait for the advocate, and when the advocate arrives, you're going to have power. You'll know what to say, and you'll do greater things than I when I was with you. It's better that the advocate comes than if I were here with you. Those are Jesus' words. That's what Peter understood about the Holy Spirit. He had no idea how it was going to rise. So our theology of the Holy Spirit is way better than Peter, but yet we're still spending our energy learning about the Holy Spirit.
Saying.
So rather than say, well, I need to know more about the Holy Spirit before I start talking about the Holy Spirit, let's live.
How does that look in today's day and age? Because I can see people disparaging things like podcasts and new media.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that
because it doesn't feel kind of New Testament-y. It's like when Jesus said, "Go make disciples," he didn't say, "Go start a podcast." I can see someone making a joke like that. It's like, well, why wouldn't he say that? Like that's part of it. But what you're saying is
we all have right. So so a few things. I mean, I want to. I don't want to make disciples before I am a disciple, right? So I think that, and I know that sounds cliche, but
that's good.
I want to be, I'm a believer. I mean, that's the question most of us have. I mean, I guess in the Protestant world, that's more of a question. Are you a believer? Are you a believer? I want to kind of move that conversation to, am I a follower, right? Like, am I following Jesus? Am I truly following Jesus? Not in this like kind of, metaphorical following, but an actual following.
You remember that thing, Jesus to the young boy on the bench. Remember that? There's that old Christian art of this guy in a leather jacket and Jesus is sitting next to him.
Yeah.
But they've done a meme of it, and it's like, no, I'm not talking about Twitter. I actually want you to follow me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the whole idea. I mean, the example I oftentimes use is just follow the leader. This game that we used to play was very clear. Following meant following. And if I'm a simpleton in that regard, and if anybody wants to call me simple, I'm all good with it. It is, I see what he did, I see who he hung with, I see the way he approached secular society or those that were outcast or on the margins. I see the way he interacted with the religious of his day. I see the way that that he interacted with his family and his close disciples. Following means actually doing life the way that he did life. So, and I've always been a fan of guys like Francis and Dominic and these types of things. So I realize that this is a unique. I am in no way saying everyone on the planet, is called to sort of the same exact things that we are. But I think I'd like to shift. I mean, this is what I'd like to shift the conversation to say, okay, but in your everyday walk, are you following? Are you? Do you interact with same-sex couples? Right. People are like, oh, I've got plenty. It's like that whole thing. I got plenty of black friends, or like I got plenty of homosexual friends. But like, do you now? Yeah. Like, are you?
Do I need to?
Well, if I'm following,
do I have to go find a black friend so I can? That's the other thing. When I've heard people say that,
maybe.
Like, how many? Why? Why do I have to go? Do I have to find someone of every race to hang out with?
No, but are you right? So it would be the question, like in your reflection. Well, it just this is good. No, it's good. This is an awesome conversation. I love this, and this is kind of what. Yeah, this is awesome. In your reflective time, when we're praying, because when I was younger, it was God heal me of my sin, like just take this cross from me. I don't want to masturbate anymore. Like these types of this idea of like I believe this to be true, and I just need to be perfect because this is what Jesus said. He said, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Perfection to me always sounded like I'm no longer a sinner. It means perfect. I'm perfect, meaning I know all these great things and I don't sin, right? If you look at the context of when he said perfection, he was talking about the Father, the way that he loves regardless.
Yeah.
Every son and daughter, all of his creation, the sun and the rain, is for everybody, right? I think of spousal union, the great gift of the conjugal act, that the worst sinners in the world still are able to receive that beautiful gift of God. Like, I know that sounds crazy, like, or, food and drink, coffee, these things, God is just, he's pouring this out on everybody, right? So now when I think of perfection, as my Father in heaven is perfect, I believe what that is speaking to is, do I give love? Am I indulgent in my hospitality to everyone? Or do I have my specific group that I'm like, I'd rather hang out with you guys because you make me feel more comfortable.
Totally, yeah.
We agree on everything.
Yeah.
We go about raising our families the same way. We have things in common like music or et cetera, et cetera. But when you look at the life of Christ and who he was dining with, I love this story just a few weeks ago, right, in the gospel, the call of Levi.
Different. Yeah, I got it. Different calendar. But yeah, I know what you mean.
We can talk about that later. But yeah, no, this idea that
I want to dine with you tonight.
Right, well, the story, I can't remember what gospel it's from, but, he sees Levi, tax collector, says, hey, come follow me. It really, the steps are sort of discipleship, I feel like. It's this perfect model. Come follow me. Yeah, Zacchaeus was, but same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to your house tonight.
Right.
Levi leaves everything and then has a party at his own house with all of his tax collector friends, right? And Jesus is, they call him out. The religious, they call him out because he's eating with tax collectors and sinners. And so if I'm following, I'm going to be accused of the same things that Jesus was accused of. Not everybody's called to, open their homes. Not everybody's called
but
to.
Open to that as a possibility and like pushing out. And I think that's right, like going into the margins and all that and not just loving those who love us.
And I think in the past we've done that, but we've done it in a project kind of way.
Yeah.
Right? So when I go, this is one of the things with our new like pilgrimages to Guatemala, everyone thinks, when you go to Guatemala, you go on a mission trip, right? You go to help those poor people, right?
Paint the houses, because no one paints houses.
Yeah, right. There's no painter in Guatemala, apparently. No church builders.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing any of that there. I always love the image of the local painter being like,
come on.
I could have used that check.
I could have made some shoes if Tom hadn't dropped his off.
He's making glasses now. He's making everything. Yeah. But yeah, the idea that my neighbor is a project.
Yeah.
Right? That my neighbor is that the homosexual couple that I'm going to have over, that the poor are people who need what I have, as opposed to this indulgent love of like, I just want to be friends.
Yeah.
Like,
Just wanna share a beer.
can we be friends,
Yeah.
right? So we might not agree on our politics. We might not agree on our faith tradition. We might not agree on music, but I use culinary arts. You know, we use culinary arts to agree, right? Like, so we might not agree on any of that stuff, but we can agree that the tacos are good.
That's right.
You know, like we can agree that right now this is a good human interaction.
Tell us about your open porch, because there's people who are watching you, maybe this is the first time they've seen you, and
Yeah.
so like we're talking about all the things that we should be doing. I'd like to
Right.
hear about how you have been doing
Yeah.
it.
So
Like, this is
so our story. So we were living in Arizona in 2008, and we lived in a cookie cutter suburb. Every house looked the same, and in Arizona, it's rocks. They don't have grass; they just have rocks in their front yard. Everybody
same
has,
as in South Australia.
yeah, it's like different.
Dry. We just give up, kill the lawn,
Yeah, exactly. Burn it.
burn it.
And yeah, it was one of these neighborhoods where people, you know, you pull into your garage and shut the door behind you before you even get out of the car because, you know, for fear of seeing somebody that you have to talk to, right?
I feel that now with my next door neighbor. Not proud of it.
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
feel
yeah,
it.
no, it's great. That's vulnerable. It's authentic.
I
of you to
opened
say.
up my door on my Jeep and he was there and I was kind of waiting for him to, it was that bad. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Well,
gonna say
that's-
hi, it's going to be an awkward interaction.
Right. So tons of reasons to fear our neighbors. I really don't have time. If I invest in another relationship, I'm really not going to have time. I've got plenty of friends. I don't need, you know, I'm just trying to get inside.
Or maybe
And it's-
he'll reject me or not think I'm worth investing in.
Yeah, I think perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think mostly it's just like we're selfish. I mean, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term, I'm just like, I don't
Yeah.
really have time.
Tell us what
for
Dom
you.
said to you that
So
day.
yeah, so this is what happened. We're living in this neighborhood, and now I'm traveling the world, you know, speaking on stages. I'm writing for Life Teen. I'm the youth minister at St. Timothy's,
Right.
birthplace of Life Teen. I'm on top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Aren't I awesome?
Yeah.
And Dom comes home. It's a Sunday. We're eating breakfast, and he said, you know, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, could we meet our neighbors?" He's like 6, and I'm like, "Sure, bud. Like, why? Why do we need to meet our neighbors? What's, you know, are we selling? I thought we were like gonna sell chocolate or something. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah." And he goes, "No, my Sunday school teacher said that Jesus told us to love our neighbors, and so I thought we should know them." And yeah, it changed my life. I mean, you talk about conversion experiences. I like grabbed Kana's hand and was like, you know, kind of leaned into my son, like, preach, man. Like tell me more about this, because up until that point,
We good, Pritchett?
our idea of neighbor was sort of this, again, metaphorical
Yeah.
neighbor.
And we're so quick
Who's
to
your neighbor? Everybody's your neighbor.
Except
My
neighbor.
neighbors, right? And so it clicked, this idea clicked of going like, wait a minute, my neighbor, like when Jesus said, love your neighbor, like, what if he actually meant my neighbor? It was so simple, you know, and so gospel. It was like, wait, my neighbor? And then this idea kind of was birthed in our heart that if every believer, you know, Orthodox believer, was to practice
Loving
love of
their
a neighbor,
neighbor.
that could actually work.
Wow.
I mean, you know, like, I mean, it's one of those things, like, imagine a world
No.
where,
This is one thing everyone can do. It's not, you're not asking much of people.
no.
In some ways, you're asking a lot of them.
I think, I don't know, I'm terrible at quotes, but I think Mother Teresa or somebody.
Dostoevsky or someone.
Somebody.
Francis.
So somewhere somebody said
At some point.
it was easier to give a bowl of rice, to a starving person than it is to walk across the street and love your neighbor, right? Yeah. And so in a lot of ways, yes, it's one of these simple not easy things. And I think there's a few reasons why it's not easy. One is your neighbors, if you let them, they'll know you.
Right.
They know your habits. They know when your yard is a mess.
Yeah.
They know when you're screaming at your wife.
Yeah.
They know when your kids are misbehaving.
Yeah.
They know, your son will throw a ball through their window. There's a knowledge there that I think we're a little bit afraid of. That if I let my neighbor know me, he's really going to know me. And I'd rather protect my image and stay in my backyard and stay inside and just and have him believe what he wants to believe about me.
And then you can show the people at work or the people you interact with at the grocery store the polished you.
You can project, right?
And
you
at church,
you go to church, you go to church and you might see them and hey, and but I'm not going to let you in, to my home. So it's really we're preventing this. But what happens is, so the story goes, we moved back to Houston and started this open porch concept in our own backyard. We decided that we were going to open our doors or open our backyard every week.
Yeah.
And for almost 11 years now, our neighbors have come into our backyard, around 6 o'clock on Friday, just start pouring in. They bring something to share. We have a simple meal together. We pray, before the meal, but that's it. We don't. We're not like, okay, come on in, bring your Bibles, sit down, let's sit in a circle, let's share. Roses and thorns, everybody. Like, what was your high and low? There's none of that. It is literally just come in. You're accepted here. You're loved as you are here. We have Muslim neighbors and Jewish neighbors, and again, same-sex couples, and we've had just recently our Muslim neighbor, our friend Parveen, she used our prayer room in the front to say she felt comfortable enough to do her evening prayers. Yeah,
wow.
she did her prayers, and I'm like, there's saints and crucifixes and everything, but sure. Go for it. Yeah. But so focusing on what we agree on, which is first food, like this is good. Isn't this good? This is good that we're here. Putting our legs under the same table, gathering at a table, gathering on a porch, whatever you want to call it. Agreeing that food and humanity and celebration and mourning and all those things that just happen in life, that's good. And then if faith comes up.
That comes up, but you're not going to push it because it feels super campy when you do.
Campy is a good word, yeah.
How have people not understood what you're doing? So when you invite people, what are the sort of quizzical looks and questions you get?
I think, the first couple of years, neighbors who were out of our immediate, cul-de-sac they thought we were like selling Amway, literally.
Really?
Yeah. Like they would say, these guys must be selling something down there.
Did they say that to you? How did you find out?
Yeah,
that they were
eventually
saying that?
when they came down, they finally came back and they were like, you're literally just eating. And we're like, yeah, we're just eating. Like, what did you expect? And they're like, we thought you were like having these Amway parties where you were selling things to people. Because if you go knock on any of your neighbors' doors and say, hey,
totally.
The first reaction, what do you want from me? Right?
Yes.
And it's so counter to what we believe about our neighbors, we believe about anybody, that they would just say, no, I don't want anything from you. I actually want to hang out. I want to invite you into our space. I want you to come over. It's so, which again is sort of the genius of Jesus, because it's so disarming. It's so disarming. That whole, like you mentioned, Zacchaeus, like, hey, I want to come eat with you.
I'm in a tree, dude.
What? It's so crazy, right?
Yeah.
You have nothing against it, right? So somebody who, I'm going to invite you into my space, and you're going to come in and be a jerk and challenge my faith,
right,
or challenge me. They won't. They don't. That is it's a mythical creature that if I was to invite somebody into, hey man, no, this is my space. I want you to come in. I want you to feel at home here. They're not gonna. I mean, unless they're severely toxic, which that does happen occasionally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But for the most part, if they have common sense and they're a human being, like they're coming in going, I can't believe you're just doing this. And look at all these people. I would freak out, right? Like I could never do this.
You're like, we freak out every Friday morning.
Oh yeah.
It's
tough. True.
It's
no,
tough.
it's totally, yeah. And it's not, that's what I'm saying. It's still not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at most, 9 out of 10 Fridays, we are like, why are we doing this?
So we learnt this from Yoel, and we implemented this in San Diego. It was every week, Tuesday night, right after work, till whenever you want. And it was interesting getting people's reactions. They were like, is it still on? I'm like, it's always on. If we're not there, let yourself in and drink out the back. But we will be there. It's fine.
Yeah.
That was one of the main reactions we got. And then the other thing that I think is really important is that people do bring something to share. Like
Totally.
This is a communal thing.
Right.
Obviously, we're not going to be like, you didn't bring anything, get out.
Yeah.
But it's important that people bring a gift.
It happens where, people don't bring something. And you have to be like, hey, next time maybe bring something, or people will just bring
this
up.
isn't a handout. We're not just feeding.
No,
the
we're not just
neighborhood.
feeding. I think that's one of the first reactions people have. You're like, how much does that cost?
Right.
You're just feeding your neighbors. No, it's not like that. But if you have to, we probably prepare maybe 3 times what we would normally prepare for.
Yeah.
But it's like hot dogs or spaghetti or
So good.
jambalaya
Easy to
or
do.
gumbo or it's
Yeah.
you do a big or a big crock pot of pulled pork or something like that. So it doesn't really add too much to our budget. But yeah, there is a sharing, right? And that's what table does. That's
why there's a table, so you can put things on it.
It's
a
sharing
space for us.
You learn something. I mean, being being a family of 9, and you experience this too. The action of sharing and sparing. One of the most beautiful things that happens right at our table is Kenna will bring a big whatever. Okay, here are the steaks, or here are the pork chops, or here's the chicken. Everyone at the table has to evaluate. Even though I'm really hungry, I am not going to be able to take 3 of those. Because look at all of the people who are here, right?
Yeah.
So there's this experience of reasoning that goes into. I mean, we call the table. I mean, it's the first school of evangelization, right? Understanding that everyone needs to eat. Everyone, and so I'm going to spare myself. I'm going to be selfless. And younger kids, or they're not fully aware. Just, they hey, calm down. Everyone has to eat.
Yeah.
You learn that at table. And so, a communal meal where, there's 50 people at my house. And
that's what I'm going to ask you. How many people come to these things? People don't know. Sometimes you're like upwards of 50, hey?
Yeah. And it could be 10. We never really know. Sometimes when it's a lighter crowd, my kids will be like, is anyone coming? But the idea of sharing and sparing, there's something we never run out of food.
Do you think part of the reason it's so important to implement these open porch nights, as you call them, is that there are fewer and fewer activities that bring human beings together where they can naturally converse?
For
sure.
sure.
So what would some of those activities be that have gone by the wayside that then make it more difficult for us to chat?
I think, first of all, I think we have an idea of the good old days, right? In America, where we go like, it's nothing like, back in the day.
Okay.
Like Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
I think we have, because there was some really screwed up stuff going on in that era as well. I think we have the tendency to sort of idealize
the past,
the old, hello, it's not, it wasn't always like that. So it's less of a getting back to. I think a lot of people, they go, oh yeah, that's the way it used to be. And honestly, it wasn't always like that, because you had subsections of cities, and this was the black neighborhood, and this was the white neighborhood, and this was, you don't cross the tracks and things like that. Whereas I think now, we have such a we have access to so much information about people. We can know more about our neighbors pretty quickly. All of it to say, I think it's important to not just kind of idealize like this is some sort of getting back to traditional. I believe that God is calling us into a new era of creative unity, creative communication. As you mentioned, so much. I mean, it's cliche to say, we're the most connected, but we're not. We're not disconnected. It's a cliche for a reason. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
We are so disconnected, and more than that, divided. I mean, it's constant, and this is why I got back on Twitter, because it is so. If you start traveling down some of these wormholes, it's so hateful.
So why did you get back on Twitter?
Because I want to be a voice of unity. Yeah.
I don't think that's possible on Twitter.
I see it more real. I see Twitter as there's more authenticity there. People feel like they can say whatever they want on Twitter.
It's gross.
Instagram is more a projection of here's my best self.
Yeah.
Here's I am so awesome.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful my kids are.
Here's me at CrossFit.
Jacked.
Yeah.
Twitter, for some reason, people just feel like they can say whatever they want to say.
Because it's aimed at your visceral, immediate response.
Right.
That's the whole point of it.
It's a tweet.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's a blah.
And
right.
usually our initial response is
Right.
not a thought out one, and an emotional one,
Right.
a volatile one.
So, yeah, unless you're a jerk, and there are a lot of jerks in the world who don't feel the consequence. So Twitter is a place where you don't feel a lot of consequence, or people might yell back at you. So one of the things that I do there, or one of the responsibilities I feel like doing there, right? Recently there was a priest that called out my buddy Ike.
Oh yeah.
And I immediately I didn't get defensive of Ike. I didn't join the priest. I basically just brought like what would happen at a table.
That's very interesting.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey. Whoa. What are we doing here? Did you want to publicly shame Ike?
I'm not on Twitter, but my wife tells me that to the priest's credit, he apologized.
He did. No, and that's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, so you know the story. It was fantastic. That's why I'm back on there, because I want to bring the table.
And
there.
were you the one who helped bring that about?
So
really?
yeah, it was a natural thing. I said, hey, look, this is unlike anything else. Why would you do this? If I think I said something. I think I said something
Ike
like
says on Twitter wouldn't be stuff he would say around a dinner table necessarily with people he didn't know.
Yeah.
Or would he be saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff he's saying is pretty divisive stuff, whether you're for what he's saying or not. He's not just like shooting the breeze. There is a difference in the public forum to like a private conversation. This is why people feel like they can call you out. If you say something public and you're wrong, you should be publicly corrected.
Sure, and that's fine. If you're wrong, I think in the case of Ike, I believe that he does have a certain responsibility there, and this is what I'm talking about. We need to sit down. We need to talk to people. We can't just shout things into this space of, we actually need to communicate, bring the divisiveness to a table, right? And so I think that that's literally what I said, was like, hey, probably best to just direct message Ike if you have something to say.
Good for you for doing that in a way that didn't shame the priest.
No.
Because it would be easy to take
Well, what had already happened is that there were already people who jumped on to the bandwagon with the priest, and he apologized, took down his initial post, and then took it a step further and went to the people who were jumping on the bandwagon saying, you need to stop this. I was wrong for doing this, and you are wrong for continuing this fight. Yeah, so it was
amazing.
Super impressive. And I don't know the guy. it was initial gut response, but I think
Right.
the more we practice that in real life,
Yeah.
the more we understand like how to just diffuse situations and say, hey, like it's not. You know,
Have you
it's
had
not
moments at your open porch nights, because you've got people of differing worldviews and opinions, where things get heated, or as you say, not really, because they're coming into your home and people are on their best
Yeah,
behavior?
no, and honestly, yeah, it's the hyper religious Catholic people that are normally the worst.
You know, it's funny, I gave a talk recently in Washington, D.C. Was it D.C.? Arlington. And I was giving a talk on pornography in the Basilica. And a stripper and a porn performer stood up and wanted to challenge me. And I was like, cool, yeah, I'd love
Sure,
to hear what you have to
right,
say. I was
yeah.
legit not threatened. But as she begins to like tell me why I'm wrong, this guy, super like,
Sure.
looked like he was from the, I don't know,
Yeah.
1800s, dressed up, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say buttoned up. Yeah.
Yeah, button, cufflinks,
Yeah.
got up and started shouting at her.
Yeah.
How dare you? That's what he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, no, go for
Yeah,
a
no,
walk.
it's not.
You are so
Yeah.
welcome here. I'm so sorry someone shouted at you. That's probably not what you wanted. Continue,
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah.
And I've reacted that way. I'm not trying to say I was awesome and he sucked. I've sucked
no,
as well.
of course, and in no way am I saying.
But
that.
you're
I
right.
think that,
There is a defensiveness that we gotta be wary of.
well, it's everywhere. I mean, it's in our politics and it's in
every
our
group
church.
is like
it's
that. It's
every
not
group.
the Catholics. It's not.
It's right, and that's, you know, it's these silos. You know, it's these shouting into, you know, these echo chambers of, you know, we all believe this, and it just cycles and cycles and cycles until we're all just convinced that we're correct in our worldview. And then there's this one over here and then when they hit each other, it's just this hatred and vitriol. And I think that what we're trying to do with the open porch, what we're trying to do with the table is say, can we just first and foremost agree that humanity is good? And yes,
bourbon is good.
And bourbon is good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say there's evil in the world, but who's the true enemy?
Yeah.
Right?
It's not Pope Francis. It's not Donald Trump.
No, it is not. There is an enemy, and his number one tactic, right, is to divide. It's to put us against each other, to make us believe that he doesn't exist. That it's literally, and so when I see Catholic folks who are good intentioned, who want to love and want to bring Christ to the world and want to give glory to God and share the gospel, who all they're doing is pointing fingers and saying who's wrong, right? As opposed to entering into real dialogue and sitting down. I want to be a voice there going, hey, let's hang, let's sit, you know. And again, the genius of Jesus is he knew that our neighbors were going to be all of those things, right? I mean, you know, there is the ghetto effect of like these types of people live in these certain neighborhoods and that kind of thing. But again, in modern society, it's very rare that you find, you know, every neighbor for a block is all Catholic.
No,
that's not going to happen
13th
unless you
century,
do.
maybe,
Yeah, unless you do that
Europe.
intentionally, which I know people who do. You know, and I you know.
Why is it, do you think, that groups like that tend to stagnate and get weird real quick? Because I think we've all had this conversation after a few bourbons, like, wouldn't it be great if all of our families
just
bought
go.
this piece of land and we had this big space where all the kids played? But then I've seen places like that, and I'm like, ugh.
What's
It got weird.
Roger, the
Benedict option.
the
thing.
Benedict option.
And I'm all for the Benedict option. I love the book, think it's awesome, think
But
it
I
should
think
be
it, I
implemented.
think it tends towards that, you know.
Bunker kind of.
Yeah, it's hiding away, and nothing against Benedict, nothing against monastics, nothing.
Yeah.
We need monastics, and I'm a huge proponent of a new monasticism in the Catholic Church, but I prefer the Francis option, you know.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You know, the one.
But
bo-
Francis
both
had
monastic,
his posse. That's right.
both monastic.
But one went out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
But it's important that both have, you know, like there is there is a strengthening of the group
Mm-hmm.
so that we can maintain our prayer and our songs and our
Sure, an
folk
identity.
stuff.
Yeah,
And we
totally.
have to have that identity.
Right.
And that's kind of, and we're not pitting one against the other. We're just saying for lay people, I like what you're saying with the Francis option, because there is this sense of like developing your core community and feeding each other, because you want your kids to, like, I want my kids to know you because I know you're a good person. You're not going to hurt my children.
Sure.
We need to have people like that in our life who we can really trust. But then to go out, as you say, and to bring people in.
Yeah, and again, I don't. Everyone's not called to be Francis. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about the universal church, is that you can be over here and you can be here
That is
and you
right,
can
yeah.
be sitting. We're
It's
all,
a big tent.
It's a huge tent.
Yeah.
You know, stay in the lines.
Yeah.
But this is the uniqueness of every human person, right? And so I'm unapologetic in my, this is where I want to be. I'll die on this hill. Like, let's meet our neighbors. Let's know our neighbors. God said, love your neighbor. Let's actually know them. Let's know their name, Nothing against, a monastic, somebody who is praying prayers all day. That's fantastic too. We need you. This 20-year plus obsession with huddling in, and strengthening the core has been awesome. I think, the new evangelization now has to begin to go out. It's not that I'm uninterested in the 10% of the people that go to church every Sunday and, do all the catechism and do their retreats and all. Yeah, like, fantastic. But you're going to be fine. Like, you guys are good. Like, there are enough programs. If you want to know something, you just look it up. I mean, there's so many Catholic, options out there to know about this, to be taught here, to be taught there. You've got it going on there. Now let's start encouraging and equipping people to go.
Do you get nervous when you see all the programs that are coming out?
It's so saturated.
Yeah.
But we're a part of them. I mean, I'm a part of them.
We are a part of them.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
Again, there's
But I mean,
nothing.
do you wonder that, like, we're doing that at the expense of interpersonal relationships? Because it's almost like we're having, okay, we can produce a really good series, but then who's actually showing people how to be community as they watch these things and interact? Does that make sense? It's like we're
totally.
almost just assuming that you have a great community. Do you mind? Whose are they?
What
Do
is
you want
that?
a beer?
They're the opposites.
Love a beer.
We drink them on Friday.
Thank you.
When we open for it.
No, I can
It's
do it because I have a
Tuesday.
ring and I'm a man.
It's Tuesday in Lent.
Are you guys gonna do a break?
Do you want us to?
Curious. If we could do some audio checks.
Oh, why? It's not going well?
No, just to double check.
Sure.
What we already checked.
All right.
But
Well,
if you don't want to, then
I'll do it. We'll do it at 5
That was a
minutes.
good question.
What?
That was a good question you just had for me, though.
Yeah.
I want to get married now.
Cheers. Uh-oh. Have you ever done that?
I used to say to the Holy Father and death to his enemies, but I don't know.
You guys.
I don't know if I mean that anymore.
You guys.
Who's you guys?
I don't know. Just the crew of people that
A super
all of a sudden.
conservative?
No, it's
Super
just.
critical of Francis?
I did not. There's just never been. I did not think that I would live to see a day when people could discount the Holy Spirit's choice so much.
Why do you assume it was an infallible choice? Where is it in Catholic teaching that it has to be like an infallible, this is obviously who God wanted?
That's what the conclave is.
No, it's not. That's just what we've come to say as Catholics, that this is without a doubt. I mean, in God's providence, it was preordained, but the idea that it was the perfect will of God that Francis or Benedict or John Paul II should have been Pope, I don't think it's a teaching of the Church.
Ooh.
I think that's just something we've said for a while.
Ooh.
Seriously. I mean, we've had popes who've
Does the
ridden into
does
battle,
the-
had kids with mistresses, stole the papal cutlery,
All still part of it.
exhumed dead
God doesn't-
bodies of their...
God doesn't waste any of that.
Of course.
I mean, the magisterium is ordained by God,
Right, I believe that.
right? So,
But what I'm saying is
if
there's a difference between God's
so
will...
if the magisterium is the bishops united with the Bishop of Rome.
Right. So I agree that
The Holy Spirit chose Francis.
I don't necessarily agree with that. But not because
Do your viewers agree with that?
they can yell at me if they want. But I don't necessarily think that's. I'm not saying that because I'm critical of Francis. Maybe I'm more open to saying that.
I think more people are. I think more people are open to that
You're right.
thought because
They don't like Francis. Yes,
disagree
I agree.
with him.
But I think there are other things we have said in the church for a while that I'm not sure the church has said. Here's another one that's different from that. You've heard people say that like canonizations are infallible. I don't know if that's true.
Oof.
I'm just saying I don't think it is.
That's what the kids say now when
What?
when
Oof.
oof.
Is that
No,
what your
just
kids
oof.
say? Oof.
OOF.
Your
Oof.
kids say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all. That's all I'm saying. Besides, even if you're right, and it's God's perfect will that John Paul, Benedict, Francis should have been popes, we can still criticize them. You know that. But you're just saying you see a.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
I
There's
would
been a
not.
ton of criticism of John Paul and Benedict from different sides of the
not
church, not from conservative sides.
Not as big. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Benedict. People were super critical of him. I met priests who were like, Benedict, he's so out of touch with the young people. He thinks they want Latin. And I'm like, oh, you're out of touch.
Right.
We do.
Well, and I guess that's the difference between, again, orthodoxy and orthopraxy, right? The idea that teaching is there. There's nothing that's coming ex cathedra that is not.
Yeah, not yet, I don't think.
I mean, he hasn't even. I mean, the only things have been canonizations that have been ex cathedra, right?
Yeah.
The apostolic exhortations are simple. They're
Right.
just. He's saying
There's
here's.
been a lot of bloody confusion under this papacy. I don't know why people aren't willing to just admit that.
Oh, there's absolutely.
And not in a good way. Like, I'm pretty sure that Italy is praying a different version of the Our Father because of Pope Francis changed some of the wording.
I don't know anything about that. Like I said, I don't consume.
Yeah. So it's...
I don't.
scary.
Well, yeah.
And I know people will say to me, the only reason you're saying scary is because you don't have enough faith in the Holy Spirit's ability to provide and protect the church.
No, I'm.
Well, it's not just that, but it's everything. It's the whole episcopate. It's the corruption that we've heard about and have seen for so long.
Well, and I think where I sit is in this place of, again, it's we can have right belief all day long
And go to hell. Satan did that, does that,
Totally.
is that. Yeah.
Totally. And we're seeing that you're right, in the episcopacy. We've seen some
Gross stuff.
disgusting things, right? So if our obsession is belief and just trying to not sin, I think we're sunk. And so what I'm enjoying is a shift in conversation that I don't believe Pope Francis is responsible for the shift in conversation. I think the Holy Spirit has been. When I first started, Evangelii Gaudium came out. I was like, I could have freaking written this. Like, it was point by point of what I feel like God has been telling my wife and I for years. Now I'm not saying that's, oh man, aren't I cool because the Holy Spirit has been moved. But I believe there is a certain movement within the church towards others, towards love of neighbor. That
But who wasn't saying that prior to Francis? Carl Keating says, or he was quoting someone as saying, when it comes to Francis, what's good isn't new. What he's saying that's good isn't new.
Not at all.
And what he's saying that's new isn't good. And I kind of agree with that.
What is he saying that's new?
Well, the Our Father would be one example.
I have no idea what
where
you're
he
talking
says,
about. I don't know.
lead us not into temptation. He says, well, God doesn't lead people in temptation, therefore we should change it. But that's
Right,
exactly
but we don't
what the
hate on
text
John
says.
Foreman. I mean,
Or
John Foreman.
his utter ambiguity regarding contraception within marriage or
Benedict.
those who've been divorced
Shoot,
receiving
right.
communion.
Yeah.
There's just been a lot that's been
But again,
super
what
confusing.
see, and I just sit in that place of like, who cares? No.
Heaps of people care. You're
But
a
they're- but
married
you're-
couple
you're-
and
you're
you
obs-
feel like you can
But
receive
again, you're
Eucharist and you're
obsessing about
divorced.
you're just obsessing about the wrong thing.
I'm not obsessing about the wrong thing. I
I'm
think
not
it's
saying
a
you.
legitimate
I didn't really
thing.
mean you, but
No,
I mean,
it's
like
okay.
I think people who are, yeah,
If
if
you get the strong sense from Francis that it's really okay if you're divorced, you can receive communion, then you're engaging in mortal sin, and that can send you to
I think
hell.
the
That's a big thing.
I think there is a much needed welcome. I think we
Two
I think
things
we
can be true at
suck.
once.
I think we
can welcome them and
suck.
teach them true doctrine.
Right, but again, it's not. It's about that dialogue. We're never going to have that dialogue unless we are hospitable, and unless we are sitting down. If you Google, why are Catholics so?
Right. I don't have Google. I don't see. I've deleted my Google.
We're just not known
No,
for
spot
our
on.
welcome, and
Much
we're not.
reformation needs to take place within the church. It's always been the case. It's definitely the case now. And there's been things that Francis has said that I'm like, absolutely,
Right.
preach like that. Let us be a poor church for the poor. Well, we're going to be a poor church because we're being sued.
with that, right? We're not intentionally doing
Like
it
the
now.
church is the butt of every
Right,
church right now.
right.
Or it's not because because the secular culture just assumes that the Catholic Church is disgusting.
Right. So should we just say, all right, we've lost all credibility, and just huddle in, save our children, save our little ghetto, or do we practice a following? Which
It's always both end.
It is. It's absolutely both and. But you look at the progression, and if you're reading Francis or listening to his airplane interviews, you're with the critique of he's changing things,
He's not addressing
messing it up,
accusations.
he's saying it wrong, he's not. I think that you're gonna start getting frustrated.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it from the perspective of the shift needs to happen, where we're a church of welcome, and I don't mean that in a like, come on in, everybody receive communion, everybody, like who cares, but a sense that Catholic people.
Here's the difference between you and me, and I think both are needed, right? It's like we're both saying both and, except you're emphasizing the one thing that I agree with you isn't emphasized enough, and I'm emphasizing the thing that probably is emphasized too much.
Right, and it's because of our friendship.
Yeah.
Right? It's because we've sat down for many years with.
Right. It's because I know you so well that I've seen you like retweet Cory Booker. I'm like, Cory Booker's the worst.
Yeah, he is.
But I love you, so
He's
I'm like,
terrible.
I love Ennie.
He's gotten worse though.
Yeah.
I won't retweet him anymore. Yeah. Although I am interested in his marijuana policies.
Yeah, let's talk about marijuana. You pro or against marijuana? You don't have to. I mean, we are. This is going live. The people from YouTube are filming, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I am anti-prohibition. I think that there's definitely something to be said about the medicinal purposes of cannabis.
Okay, so let's back up one step, because I don't know enough about this stuff, so I'm excited to learn.
Yeah.
So when we talk about prohibition, what are we talking about? I mean, I know what prohibition means, but I mean, I know you guys have had a history in the past in this country.
We've chosen, right, so in this country we've just chosen the drugs that are acceptable. We have two of them on the table. Yeah, I don't have my vape. No.
Come on.
But yeah, no, we've chosen.
Get it.
We've chosen the.
Is it in your bag?
Yeah.
Hey,
Are we? Yeah, really?
Yeah, let's do it. Could you bring us that bag? Also, if he vapes in here, will we get? Danny won't care.
No, This is a terrible habit. Although I have.
Thanks.
You got a third one with the phone right there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and
exactly.
another drug, right? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is something that's helped me quit smoking. I know it's pretty. It's
terrible though.
It's pretty bro It's pretty bro
Well,
terrible.
and this is super lame what you have on
I
it.
know,
Is that because no cool people vape, so there's no cool images?
It's really kind of
It's like kids
more
who wear
ironic.
it's like kids who wear Axe deodorant.
Yeah,
are the
it's
same
more
kids who-
ironic than anything. Gosh, my wife is gonna kill me. She's
Why?
gonna be like, "Why are you doing this on?"
Is she watching right now? Probably.
You try it.
And so, what is this? Is gonna cough my guts up.
That's
so explain to the kids at home.
strawberry cake pop. Hey, that was. Let's get that out of here.
It's fantastic. Hang on. So, explain what it is to people who are old like me.
So yeah, it's water vapor and nicotine with flavoring, and it's yet to be seen whether it's worse than cigarettes or not.
fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks.
Why are you
So-
putting it away? Come on. We can
Okay,
leave
we'll
that
leave it out. That's fine.
We could get a big hookah, and that could be the
That's
thing.
basically what it is. It's
Yeah.
hookah. But yeah, so we have now we have 4, different
One
addictions.
drug, 2 drug, 3
Addiction.
drug. All right.
Right. So we've got so we in this country because of big business, because of lobbyists, because of misconceptions and different protocols that have existed in our past, we've chosen the things that are acceptable. And granted, there are drugs that are dangerous. These are there's some dangers here. You do anything, too much, right? There's dangers there. Cannabis has just gotten a terrible.
So are you
rap
against
for years.
prohibition in general? Like, are there any drugs that you think ought to be prohibited?
Regulation is
Regulation as
regulation
opposed to
is
prohibition.
right. Regulation is way different than
All right,
prohibition.
so like what about, let's just go to kind of one of the worst drugs, like meth.
Yeah.
So like meth is something that should be legal?
Well, the drugs that are involved in
right.
it are
Can be had.
Yeah, they can be had.
But to make it and to distribute it is illegal.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all prohibition is bad.
Now
Obviously.
why then? So why should some things be?
Because
there's
now you're
people-
talking philosophy. Because
No.
I just
Well,
get-
but maybe I am.
It is. Yeah.
But then there are people who are just as conservative as you who think that there shouldn't be any prohibition on things.
That's a good question.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about politics. I know next to nothing about politics. It just seems to me that one of the things that maybe the libertarian position doesn't recognize is the essential, the common good.
Well,
that we live in a society.
we could talk about right. So another one of the hot issues is immigration right now. Do we need?
Yeah, we can't jump from
Do we,
drugs to
I know. I'm just
immigration. We gotta get back to
saying.
drugs.
I'm just saying. But people want to say, if I say, look, we need to love our neighbors to the south and reform immigration and regulation. We need to make the process easier, et cetera. People, because of the silos, jump right to.
There can't be any nuanced opinion,
Right.
right? No.
So you want open borders? You just want anyone to come in?
Yeah, it's not what I said.
And that's not what I said, right? And so there will be people, there will be viewers who are saying, Ennie thinks that everybody should be smoking pot. Well, no, that's not what
But
I'm
you
saying.
don't think that pot's it doesn't have negative effects?
Of course it does.
Okay.
Just like coffee does, just like alcohol does, just like
But you
nicotine
also
does.
agree that there are certain drugs that have such negative effects that they ought to be outlawed.
Sure, I
At least
would agree with that.
we could reflect upon it.
Yes.
Maybe you'd come to a different position. But right now, you're willing to say that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to marijuana, you don't think that the negative effects are such that they ought to be outlawed.
No,
now,
I
saying
think-
that something is outlawed and something is immoral are also two different things.
Sure.
Now, I get the impression that you think it's both moral and should not be outlawed, or at least morally neutral.
Right. I think it, like anything, abuse. Like you just abused that.
So many people are unsubscribing right now.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And I don't care.
If we had this is what I'm saying though. If we had cigars, or we had pipes,
Yeah, people wouldn't care.
we would be super
Look
dignified.
at that. Grandpa's chair.
Right. So we could
They
sit
would
here
love
and
it.
smoke a pipe, and we can drink a beer, and
Because it's
everybody
acceptable.
because it's completely
Socially
acceptable.
But
if we
that isn't yet. That looks punk.
right, but different than that would be if I sat here and the process of breaking up
Marijuana
buds
leaves.
and rolling something or putting in a pipe, that would be all of a sudden, holy, it
No,
would be
look, I know nothing about this, but
complete scandal.
look, you know more about this than me, so I wouldn't be able to push back because I don't even have the information. But isn't there a lot of studies that are suggesting that this is seriously detrimental to your psychological health? That it can have negative effects later on in life.
No, 100%. And I wouldn't say that they're necessarily wrong in that. What I said was
it shouldn't
that
be prohibited.
there are proven medicinal benefits.
Proven medicinal benefits.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, that's an interesting point though, because I mean, like, I can't think of many things that don't have benefits. Think of one of the worst things ever. Racism sucks, but I can see benefits in that. If you and I are awful human beings and like think Asians are a threat to us or something,
right?
We're incorrect maybe in our view, and it might cause us to be bad people, but we might feel an intimacy that we otherwise wouldn't have had. It's true.
Well,
that's a benefit. Pornography has benefits, right? It might calm me down if I watch pornography.
It's kind of it's that idea that God
something doesn't have to be purely evil and have purely evil repercussions in order to say that it's evil. Something can just be disordered, but there's still a good that you're seeking when you seek it out.
Right. I don't
Does
know.
that make sense?
It would be very difficult for me to find a benefit to racism.
Okay, we need to back up here because I'm not promoting racism. What I'm saying is I'm just picking that. Like think of Nazi Germany, right? Obviously, there's going to be people who are accusing me of being a Nazi.
If we're gonna say we learned a lesson there,
no, not just learned a lesson, but it's like if you and I are against something we perceive to be a threat, we might be incorrect as the Nazis were. We might be evil as the Nazis were, but you and I have a shared mission and we feel more united. We feel like brothers. There's an intimacy there, even if it's based on something that's false, that wouldn't have been there necessarily if we hadn't have had that perceived threat.
I'll have to think more about
that.
that.
Let's think it through now.
No, because
that's the point.
I don't think that unity as the end can justify the means to get to that unity.
Definitely.
Really?
Totally. I agree with what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
No, I agree.
Oh, okay. You agree. So I think unity as an end in itself, I don't believe that. I think unity is created for a purpose, right? So like I think if we're going to be united in something, it should be something for the good of others. I think everything.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think if we both wore swastikas, that would be.
No, it wouldn't be
a
good.
means
but
to
I'm
a-
just my point is
greater
I
end.
can't think of an evil thing that you can't see a perceived good in. I
Yeah,
can't
and I
see
think-
anything.
Right.
Well,
Except
no, that's
Francis.
not true. No, no, that's not true. No, but that's not true. I guess I do. I can think of like instances of evil where no good results. No, what even the sin of rape? There's a perceived pleasure that is then received on part of the monster who did it.
And the child would be
If the child who's conceived in it,
Yeah.
you mean? I don't even necessarily mean of the resulting action. I just mean like things can be evil, and we're not thereby saying that everything about that thing is evil. And
Yeah,
this is
I know,
Thomas
we got-
Aquinas.
we
Okay,
got-
so
yeah,
if I've
yeah,
confused the crap out of everybody,
no,
let me just say this again, all right?
Yeah.
So Thomas Aquinas says that we don't choose evil for its own sake. No one ever does that.
course
Whenever
not.
you sin, it's
Right.
because you see a good or a perceived good,
Right.
and you act upon it. So if I look at pornography, I want pleasure, and that pleasure is perhaps a good thing, or it's at least a perceived good.
Right.
If I am a racist and I want to subjugate a certain group of people, I perceive them as a threat and perceive us subjugating them to be a good, and I can experience a benefit from that. And I'm not saying that benefit outweighs the tremendous evil that's taken place,
Right.
and that ought to be condemned.
Sure.
I don't even know why I'm talking about this.
Because of beer. We're literally just like
Smoking.
consuming things.
Pot! That's why. So smoking marijuana, I get that there can be a benefit from
Yeah.
it, sure, but it can still be an immoral thing. And I think the only reason Aquinas might say it's immoral, I guess there could be the sociological impact that could make it. But also, I mean,
Well, there's something about deregulation. I think that if we just passed it out, like, hey, everybody just go ahead and, you can buy it at your grocery store. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think societally that would
would
be.
devastate
Oh gosh,
us.
no. Yeah,
Okay.
we please
so
don't
you want
do that.
regulations,
Well,
not
is there a?
prohibition.
Yeah, let me paint a picture for you. You're empty nesters. You and Cam. Kids are gone.
Mm-hmm.
You're 65 years old.
And we go dancing.
Right. And you put
John
on
Mayer.
and you put on you put on John Mayer, or you put on the Beatles. You put on.
I'm done with the Beatles.
You used to be such a huge fan of the Beatles.
I was huge into them. Some of their older stuff I like. Okay, John Mayer. I love John Mayer stuff.
John Mayer. And you're on your front porch in rocking chairs and you're holding hands, and you want to experience. No, that's different, right? No, that'll just like let's go rave.
Yeah,
that's not
65-year-old.
Yeah, no, you don't. I'm not saying rave. No, there are calming effects to the CBD that's within. There's two chemicals that are working there. CBD is the calming effects, right? So maybe your back hurts, or you've got a neck pain, or you just had surgery where they remove some mole or something there's
morphine's much stronger and much worse.
Much worse.
Right.
Much
so
worse.
I can
so there's
accept
that,
marijuana
and then
can be
right, and then the THC is what is the psychoactive part of cannabis.
And is that found in any drugs you buy on the shelf, or no? It wouldn't be, but is it found anywhere else?
No, THC is actually CBD is. You can get pure CBD now. You can get oil, pills, things like that, and it's just it's like Advil. It just it's a calming muscle relaxer kind of thing. THC is the psychoactive that gives you more of the open mind. It helps you relate. You might find yourself crying. You might there's a euphoric part of it where you might be with your mate and or your homies and feel like, man, we're just together.
To me there. You might be with your mates.
Well,
homies.
I actually meant your
lover.
Your lover. Yeah, your wife. But I said mate, and
your mates.
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different on here.
Yeah.
But so that there's a euphoric, poetry, Mozart, good music, things like that are hitting synapses that a good whiskey or a good a good pipe or something like that can cause that. There's that piece as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's more that. I think people again when they think of pot, they think of high school kids,
16-year-old stoner,
right?
Loser,
Yeah, hitting
jerk.
bongs and stuff like that. That is, I am just so we're clear. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a mature. A mature approach to perhaps recreation, perhaps the medicinal.
So here's an objection some people have. I want to get your take on it. So one of the things Aquinas addresses in the Summa is, one, that alcohol can be used, because there are some Christians who would say it can't be.
Right.
But then he says that drunkenness is a mortal sin, and the reason he says that is because it deprives us of rationality.
Right.
And so someone will say to you, yeah, but you can drink in moderation. I can have a beer and I can be fine. I can drive. But you can't, this is what they'll say. I'm not making the
claim.
No,
and this is the argument,
You can't smoke
100%.
pot in moderation.
Yeah, and in my experience, many years ago, that wasn't the case. And I think that, anything...
Although certain drugs would deprive you of rationality.
For sure.
But that's when you're in pain.
Morphine.
Kind of yeah.
Opiates.
Yeah.
I mean, is it immoral?
Right, it can't be.
I mean, it can't be,
like
because
I
it has.
I just had surgery recently. They gave me a shot and they said it'll feel like you've drunk 2 margaritas. I'm like, woo! And they totally deprived me of my rationality. Well, it didn't deprive me of my rationality. I was just in a different state where it wasn't activated.
Right. So did you come? Let me ask you this: did you come?
When I came out,
did you come out of that?
A bit irrational. Yeah, I was saying stuff that didn't make sense to people.
Right. And then beyond that, did you feel a greater sense of calm or connectedness to your peers or to your wife or to your children?
No.
Right. So I would say that even if you if you smoked too much marijuana, there is a lasting effect to the psychoactives that give you a greater connectedness to and an empathy. Folks who suffer from PTSD, veterans, again, it's one of the medicinal purposes that it's being used. They're guys that have been warriors, shooting people, there's something that happens where they lose empathy for other human beings, especially those that they're considering their enemy, have regained empathy and sympathy, compassion for for other people.
That's interesting. Not just while they're smoking.
No, it's not just
Let's address that
a
point
kind.
really
Yeah.
quickly because we haven't touched upon that. Like, so can you smoke without getting high? High in the sense of deprived of rationality, like drunk.
100%.
Okay. Now that's a different question to is this a good thing for society at large?
Sure. No, but I think that but that is a good argument. I mean, I 100% I see where people might be coming from. Like, well, let's talk about shots. Let's talk about tequila shots.
Yeah.
Right.
You like tequila.
I love tequila.
Why do you love tequila? What is it about tequila you love? I like tequila and margaritas. I love margaritas.
Yeah. No. See, I'm not. See, this is the experience of tequila with most people, right? Margaritas and shots.
What do you do? You sip it.
Neat.
Neat.
Yeah.
Like we had whiskey last night.
Neat. Yeah. Maybe a drop of ice. Maybe a little bit of citrus.
Would you have to have good tequila?
Yeah.
Like,
oh
I
gosh.
wouldn't
Yeah.
drink
No.
crap Scotch or
No.
bourbon.
Yeah. I mean, if you're pouring, and that's the thing with margaritas is that it's a pre-mix thing. It's
usually.
ready-made. It's frozen. It's sugary. So a lot of people are like, oh no, I can't do tequila. Because they've only had shots or margaritas. And margaritas will give you a headache because you're drinking sugar.
Yeah.
And shots, I mean, which was my
pounding
point,
it
you're
back.
trying to
Get
drunk. Yeah. Let's do shots. That's what I think people think of when they hear about smoking marijuana. They're thinking, let's get high. Yeah. And that's it's not like that. So, but back to tequila. We're just talking about substances.
I don't have a boss anymore. We can do whatever we want.
I don't have enough patrons yet.
We're going to talk about Patreon next. You got to keep drinking because I'm beating you and I feel bad about it. Tequila.
Yeah, tequila. So tequila is actually it's a type of mezcal. Mezcal is the alcohol made from roasted piña. Piña agave.
Piña?
Well, the piña is like, it looks like a pineapple. When you take an agave plant and it's mature, you slice off all the leaves and it looks like a pineapple. And they call that the piña. You throw that in a roaster, you roast it for days, you mash it just like you would do potatoes for vodka or corn. You turn it into a mash, it ferments. So that's what mezcal is. Tequila is in a certain region of Mexico. The tequila is actually a city, I think, Jalisco. That's what tequila is. So it's a type of mezcal, but tequila is only used. You can only use blue agave. So blue agave is the specific agave that tequila is made from. So tequila is really good, but if you want to really explore mezcal, that's where you really get fine.
So is it a different? Here's the point I wanted to make earlier, because some people who are going to make an argument against smoking pot, and I'm not saying there can't be one that's launched that's good.
Right.
Will say like, here's the point I make.
Turn it on now. Ennie and Matt are talking about pot.
People don't drink alcohol to not feel the effects of it. People drink alcohol because they want to loosen up a little bit, and they want conversation to flow more freely, and they want to relax.
It's communal, right? What?
Anyone who the reason you drink alcohol is to have this physiological response,
right? And
that doesn't mean drunkenness.
No,
that just means like what I'm feeling now.
Right. Same with coffee.
Yeah.
Right. I think that, absolutely, 100%. You're looking for some change in your brain pattern, right? You're looking for something to calm you down, to speed you up.
It's why we down chocolate. It's why we eat M&Ms by the handful at the end of the night when the kids are in bed and I'm stressed or something.
Right, but nobody wants the meat sweats.
What's that?
Meat.
You've never had meat?
A ton of meat?
Yeah, I just think of Joey from Friends. Here come the meat sweats.
Even though I never watched the show, but we get that.
You never watched Friends?
No.
You are a good man. Don't watch it. It's not a good show.
Is it?
No, it's not. There's some funny bits in it. If you want to watch one show from Friends, and it's one that doesn't have any very, very little sexual content in it, it was the one where they're all trying to get ready. Do you remember that? Where Ross is going, it doesn't matter. You never watched Friends?
No, never watched.
You were right at the point, though, where all of your friends would have been watching.
No. I'm a
You had
little
real
older.
friends. What was that like?
Yeah. What years was that?
The 90s and into the early 2000s.
Yeah, no, never.
Wow.
Never
Did
really.
you watch shows as a kid? Seinfeld or?
We just really didn't.
That's great.
We just really
And you
didn't.
never felt that your parents were intentionally depriving you of it, it sounds like.
No,
You just
but
didn't.
we didn't have like we were the odd family that didn't have cable.
I love your mum and dad. They're so cool.
They are. They're incredible.
So cool.
Yeah. Mom will definitely watch this. Dad might watch this. We'll see.
What did your parents do right, do you think, that you try and emulate? Because I love your mum. I feel like if things went to hell right now,
Yeah.
I could call her and she would be there for me. And I haven't
Yeah.
spoken to her in years.
Yeah. Man, they loved deeply. I mean, they loved us deeply and let us know. My dad differently than my mom, you know.
Your dad's so chill.
Later on, oh my gosh, my dad. I love my dad, man.
Why do you love your dad? What did he do right that you try to do?
He's one of the most humble, strong mans that
He's
I've.
very strong.
Right. You look at him and you're like, he could destroy me.
Yeah.
Right.
And not in a,
No.
he works out.
No,
just in a
bulky. He's a strong man. I saw him lift refrigerators. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, he was. I can do it.
big dude, yeah.
Just has brute strength.
Yeah. Functional strength. as
Functional
opposed
strength.
to
Yeah, totally.
Instagram muscles.
Yeah, you look at his hands, and it's just. I mean, there's just muscles that I didn't even know you could have in your hands. You know.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I mean, he's still a working man. You know, and I think for me, the biggest virtue that he passed on to me was that I never saw him, I never heard hate speech ever out of his mouth
What do you
for
mean
anybody.
by hate speech? He never
Well,
said
he
bad
worked in
things.
construction,
Yeah.
and in construction, you get some, on the labor sites. I mean, you're getting
rough and
some
ready
rough.
blokes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
roughnecks and folks who have been, in and out of prison or down on their luck and all sorts of things. And my dad frequently would, one of these guys would come over for dinner. I mean, I could tell you stories. He would let him borrow a car. One guy stole his truck he let him borrow it and he stole it. And I was at an age of reason to go like, Dad, why did you give him the truck?
Yeah.
And my mom's like, what are we gonna do? And he would be simply like, he'll come back, or he taught me how to love people who you wouldn't really necessarily be reaching out to and loving. He taught us that. Never like, sit down, let me tell you how to love people. My dad did it, and I learned by osmosis.
How much of this is just personality? Because it's like that John Mayer song, how much of my mother has my father left? How much of my father's in me? Like, will it wash out in the water or is it always in my blood? And I feel like sometimes we strive against our natural tendencies.
Right. But then the older we get, because this is what
Because I can't be your dad even if I wanted to. I can look at chill people like that and be like, I wish I was, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
And I've met people who are like, I've met holy people and they're very soft-spoken. And this was like my bride, right? Candy.
Yeah.
She's like loud and beautiful and beautiful.
And loud.
So if someone like her tries to be like, hi, and like, you're like, no,
it
you're
doesn't
not
fit.
you.
Right, it doesn't fit. Yeah, the older I get, the more I see my dad, the more I see, I think in the beginning, like in my early adolescence, I was definitely, I look more like my mom, and I was always associated with my mom.
eyes,
My mom was in church work.
She got
I
a
followed her there.
beard.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, like.
Can your dad grow a beard? I've never seen
Oh
a
yeah,
beard.
no, yeah, totally.
All right, so
yeah.
so you've been identified
80s
with your
in there.
mom. and-
Yeah, I definitely did, and not that I don't now. I think still our personalities
Was that
are
difficult
very
for you?
similar.
Because I mean, your dad's this big guy. You're a smaller frame guy.
Yeah,
Was
and
that-
my younger brother, my
Yeah.
two and a half. Yeah, he's 2.5 years younger
He's
than
a
me.
big boy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy. There was. Oh gosh, I mean, yeah, we could talk about that on a whole nother episode
Yeah.
about my my insecurities as a small man. It's
I don't see
totally
you like that,
okay.
but you are a smaller man.
I am a small
So
man.
is Jason Everett. He's pretty
Yeah,
good
but he's
size.
like
he's
jacked.
Oh yeah.
Like he's not really.
jacked.
Is he?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's.
He works out all the time, every day. I think.
Jason's so hot.
He is.
He is.
And that hairline's not receding like this bad boy is.
You look great, man.
Thanks.
Do you work out?
I used to work out before I had surgery, and I loved it so much. CrossFit.
The ropes,
Yeah, did that.
the tires,
Yeah. And it's just
the
humbling.
weird pull-ups.
The kipping kind of
don't
pull-ups.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I did all that, and I'm going to do it once I feel better, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love CrossFit.
Yeah. Did you play sports growing up?
Yeah, but none of it I really got into. Like, so I played soccer, field hockey, table tennis, basketball,
Table tennis.
Aussie rules football, cricket. My parents were like, "Get this energy out of my kid."
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I did all that stuff.
We played sports. Yeah, definitely.
So-
tons of sports. But
But I was never good at any of it.
so the CrossFit.
There was insecurities because of that. I was always picked last for like soccer or cricket, at school.
Yeah.
was just
We
bad
were
at it.
generally pretty good.
Yeah.
My kids are like that as
My
well.
problem growing up was I was bad at academics and I was bad at sport. Like I wasn't attractive. I was just a freckle-faced, skinny kid. So I wasn't attractive with the ladies. I wasn't good academically at school because I didn't see the point, and I was terrible at sport. So what does somebody do who's terrible at all those things? Starts a heavy metal band.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that type of upbringing, or the way that you fit or didn't fit, do you think that has projected you into your, has that had any part to play in your career?
Talking about porn for a living?
Yeah. Or just at the,
Or speak just doing this?
yeah, like I look up to you in the way that you're just always doing something new.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I'm like, man, I just feel like you write another book, or you put
Part of
another
it's
book together.
restlessness, right? It's this restlessness that I wish wasn't
But
there.
do you feel like so all of those things that weren't filled,
Maybe.
do you feel
Yeah.
like now you've found something, okay, this is my,
I think like what really helped me is when I learned about the temperaments, choleric, phlegmatic. I don't know
Sure.
if you've ever looked into these, sanguine. Well, I've since realized that I'm melancholic, sanguine, for those who are interested. But I remember when I read about the typical traits of a sanguine.
what do you think I am?
I don't know. You're choleric.
Neither do I.
In some sense, but you're also chill, like a phlegmatic. But those contradict, so I don't know what you would be. But you're also deep, so you'd be melancholic and.
And
you're sanguine. You're like a great combination.
I'm an INFJ.
What's that?
I don't know.
Is it a different one?
What is that called?
That's me.
You're an INF.
What is that?
INFJ.
Is that like a Myers-Briggs thing?
Yeah, Myers-Briggs, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. You two will get along.
Hey, man.
The rarest personality type.
Is it?
Yeah.
Lucky bugger.
It's a rare guy. Yeah.
The dreamer that can get things done.
Yeah,
It's
well,
the,
that's
it's the
that's
logical, creative type.
Yeah.
that's totally you.
Right,
But that's
so
my
what-
point.
yeah.
So when you hear those things,
Right.
you're like, okay. So for me, when I started looking down the traits, I realized that things about my personality that I'd always thought were bad weren't bad. So for example, I was always kind of accused of like trying to be the center of attention, always being the class clown, things like that.
Sure.
And so I felt really bad about that. But I'm like, but I can get up on stage and I can command like 2,000 people the entire time.
Right.
That's a gift that I have.
Yeah.
I don't have many gifts.
When
but I
did you
can
know
do
that?
Well, I mean, it was gradual because no one invited me to speak to 2,000 people at once, But I served with Net Ministries and I would get up and I was kind of funny and it was awkward and it takes a while to get good at this stuff.
Right.
But I remember when I spoke at Focus's Seat Conference, people can look this up on YouTube if they wanted. Chris Stefanik was hosting it. I gave the opening keynote to 10,000 people. But it was sort of like, I have this.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
It doesn't, that's, if you
No. But you are good at
You won't
this.
misunderstand that. They will.
Right.
They will watch that and be like, "Whoa, dude, that's a bit."
No, you are
You're
good
not
at
that good. Like, people say that, but but I feel like I am good at that. That's one thing I'm good at. And so realizing that part of me does want to be the center of attention because I've got something to say and I'm really good at it.
You have a gift.
But before I thought it was an evil thing growing up and I had to shut that down.
Right,
so
right,
those
right,
sorts
right.
of things have really helped. There's also a restlessness. that I can't tell if it's good or not, that leads me to do a bunch of stuff.
Here's my take. Like, I think that we're all, get back to substances. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're all, in a way, searching, right, for that void to be filled in some way or another. I think that there, for a lot of us,
Dangerously close to Augustine's quote here.
go for it.
You're
the guy.
your heart is restless.
Sure,
until you-
we're
until
restless.
resting God, yeah.
But the ultimate, right, is that finding what is uniquely ours and using our gifts, right, and at the same time filling that void and letting God.
Yeah.
So there's
What is that? Is it where your gifts meet the world's poverty?
Yeah,
That's-
something like
it's
that.
so
Somebody said
true.
that somewhere.
Yeah, they did at some
my,
point.
The analogy.
Teresa.
The analogy. Yeah, probably.
Milking a cow. What? Don't do that. What was this?
Forgot what I was going to say. Oh
analogy.
yeah. The analogy that I'm using is remember when I don't know if this ever happened to you. Your dad would let you drive.
Yeah, I'd sit on my lap. I'd sit on his lap and drive. Drive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those of us who have found our niche
Yeah.
in ministry, our
Yes.
uniqueness, is really,
Yeah.
and the beauty of
I
the
feel God's delight when
Right.
I'm engaged
yeah.
in this thing.
And then the beautiful thing of the whole deal is that we're not actually driving. We're not like at any moment he could, he's holding the wheel down here.
Hemorrhoids.
And, yeah, exactly.
Anything could happen.
And we're sitting up there thinking, wow, look at
am
me.
freaking
Yeah, exactly. And you're waving to mom and dad's delighting that you're delighting.
It's lovely.
In your unique
Yeah,
gift,
yeah.
right? But it's a lesson that I think everyone in ministry or everybody who has a public presence, Catholic celebrities, at one point or another, you do learn that God is going to do His work with or without you. That you might find yourself on a big stage or with a YouTube show, or you might find yourself very successful with your podcast or your book or whatever it might be. But at a certain point, you realize you're very small in this whole thing that He is really orchestrating. He's really driving.
Yeah.
And at any point, you could, move over. Your
Yeah.
next child, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. So, trying to balance that where we're not taking ourselves or our ministry too seriously.
Yeah.
And I think Americans in general, and maybe you have a different perspective, but I think we take things too serious. I think there's a certain seriousness that is detrimental to both politics, ministry, what have you. I think that as I've learned more about God the Father being a father than I ever learned in a graduate level theology class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting theology.
Yeah.
At being a dad, I realize that God's, Jesus' words of, when you pray our Father, are some of the best news of all. Understanding Him as Father has given me this reality that there's a Father who is delighting in my delight. I mean, what do you want as a dad?
Yeah.
You want your kids to be happy.
Yeah.
You want your kids to be creative. You don't want them to feel insecure. You want them to know that you love them constantly, right? There's never a moment where you're going like, I want you
Take
to
that
know
down
how
a notch.
mad I am at you,
Yeah.
right? Or
Well, you might be like that, but only
a
for
good
their
dad.
good. Only
Right.
for their good.
Or
so that they understand the seriousness that this action that they're engaging in is going to make them less happy.
bad for them,
Yeah.
right? If ever there's a time
Like if
that
your
I
son's
need to discipline,
disrespectful to your mum and your wife in a serious way, you're mad at them because you want their good.
you
still.
want them, it's
Yeah.
for their benefit,
Yeah.
right? So if that's the case, right, then I can't really take anything as seriously as I take it, right? And I'm not saying be lackadaisical and do whatever you want, and this,
But there's a
but
relaxed.
there's a relax that he's driving.
And then how has that changed when you get off stage and people tell you how great you are? Like, how has that changed for you?
That doesn't always happen.
Really?
It's not your experience.
No, it isn't really.
No.
Because I remember one of the best things you've ever said to me was you got off a Steubenville talk and you sat down next to me and I went, dude, that was amazing. And you said to me, thanks. I probably care more about your opinion than I should, so that means a lot. Remember you said that?
Maybe, yeah.
so
That sounds like
lovely.
something I'd say.
Yeah.
I do. I
But-
do. And I think that, and it's when I lose focus of
Yeah.
who is driving and who is, and who's actually doing the ministry. You know,
I
one of my favorite prayers is, like, God, you're doing this. You're up to something. I just want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of what you're doing. As opposed to this idea that, God,
building my brain.
I'm doing something. Will you
Bless it.
bless it? Will you give me grace to do what I'm doing well?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dude, you're just up to something massive right here. So so back to the idea of the church and where we're at, and this scandal or this pope or this thing. I'm much more at ease knowing that there is a Father who is just going like, I want you to know I love you. I want you to know that I'm in charge. I want you to know that you're safe, that you're secure, that you're good. Everything that I'm doing is for your benefit. And then stepping back and going, how can I be a part of that? And if that's, and I think where the danger is when we start to compare ourselves, right? And that's what I'm saying. When I'm not secure in the Father, that's when I go, gosh, what does Matt think of me? How did I do a good job? Did I get applause? How many people liked my tweet, or how many people watched the show?
And we're all the same. Because you have these self-revelations and you wonder if you're the only one. I mean, this is why we keep refreshing our Twitter feed, is we want more retweets. And if we found out that Twitter was automatically retweeting things of ours by their electronic bots that don't even read our thing, if we found that out...
Have you seen one of those farms?
Well, my point is,
Go
if
ahead.
we found that out, we'd be disappointed because we want that human connection. What farms? Is the audio good, Pritchett? Should we stop? It's great.
Good. What time are we at?
We have half hour.
Okay.
What time's your flight?
3:25.
Oh yeah, so we'll
Something like that.
finish at 1.
Cool. Yeah. I just saw this video. It was a click farm. And it's like thousands of phones. It's in a room like this, and there's just thousands of phones
What?
that are all hooked up to these computers, and it's bots that are liking, retweeting.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they like plugged into the wall? Like a
They're all
wall of-
plugged in. I don't know how they
Doesn't
I don't know
matter,
how
but-
they do it, but they're all plugged in.
And they're automatically retweeting
And they're
and liking certain people? Like you pay for it?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I hate us so
Yeah.
much. If I were God, I would not have saved us.
Yeah. It's
I'd have been like, no, we're good. Yeah.
No
I
more.
wouldn't have.
yeah.
That's why I'm glad
Imagine-
we've got a good father.
Imagine. Gosh. Yeah.
I would have been like, have you heard of the Kardashians? Have you
Yeah.
seen what Matt did that he hasn't told anyone
Yeah.
about? No, we're done.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't save them. It's
Well, and again,
ridiculous.
like I know it sounds, it just sounds self-righteous, but like that is the model. Like that's where if anything is going to regain our credibility,
It's
the church.
yeah.
It's the church being the church.
Right, so here's what I wanna ask
which is
you.
which is following that model.
Here's what I wanna-
of I'm going to love you.
Where you're at, as you are.
Dickhead.
So here's what I want to ask you. Yeah, I want to ask you. Tell me about. You said there was a guy on your porch at one of your. First of all, tell people where they can go to your website before we forget all this.
Yeah, so it's called Delray Collective, delraycollective.com.
We'll put links in the underbelly.
Yeah, and
of
then
the
and then
YouTubes.
there's so then the Open Porch Network is we're
People
already
can sign up.
We've already got 40 porches that are registered.
Across the
You guys are
country.
one of them. And
I'm afraid to put my address down.
you were not, and we don't give out your address. We just want to know you're there. And then our job is to encourage you, empower you, answer your questions, give you, because
so there's people watching and they want to start
lot
their
of-
own open porch night.
yeah, just to open
Delray
up to your
Collective. Click that
neighbors.
link
It
below.
doesn't have to be a porch. It doesn't have to be, it can be a garage, it can be a front yard, it can be a backyard, it can be a house, it can
So-
be a common area, wherever. And the whole idea is just an openness to your neighbors coming together and eating a meal. Super simple. So you can go on there, Open Porch Network. There's
Is
how
that
to,
the
how to
website?
start one.
What's the website?
Delray,
Collective.
Delrey collective.com. Delray is the name of the street.
I love it. It's such a
that
great name.
we first started our open porch there. So
Tell us about the guy who was on your porch and you said came out as a man with same-sex attraction.
we've had
Because I love this story
Yeah,
because this
yeah.
exemplifies what you're saying about the church, like walking with people and not being above them. We are not the church triumphant looking down at the church suffering. We're all the church suffering.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Or?
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, we have. I could tell tons of stories of different victories, I guess you could say. We're sometimes it's 10 p.m. and it's like we gotta wrap this up. We got something in the morning, or there are times where we go to bed, and there's still people hanging
That's
out.
So great.
And this one night, it was probably about 1 a.m. and it was just a small group, and man, we were really getting sort of intimate, sharing deeper thoughts, and that happens. I mean, the longer you sit around a fire pit, or
having a couple of beers.
having a couple beers, you begin to be comfortable. And a friend of ours was had been coming for months, and it was this situation where he felt not judged and comfortable enough to be himself that he kind of hesitated and was like, I want to not. And we're like, what?
That's
What's
so
going
wonderful.
on?
How many of you were with him? Small handful?
Maybe 5.
Yeah.
5 or 6. My Kane and I were there, and it wasn't like I've been living this, a gay lifestyle, and here's my partner. It wasn't any of that. It was just, I have same-sex attraction, and you are my friends, and I want you to know that, and pray for me, but also don't stop loving me. Like, still, can we, can I still come over? And we're just like, yeah, man, of course. Like, you're always welcome here. Another situation, kind of on the opposite side, was perhaps it's probably the story I tell the most. One of our neighbors who was scary. Like, for all intents and purposes, you could you would look at him and go, that's not a guy I want to hang out with. Had been coming for years, maybe 2.5, 3 years. He had been coming over almost weekly. Beers, barbecue, had no idea. Found me on YouTube. I don't know how. Maybe it was some Facebook or whatever. I was like, what the? He comes over and he's like, dude, I had no idea. Like, he literally didn't know that I was a minister or did this, evangelization as a living, which was a small victory. Like, yes, like he had no idea. And he's like, I found you on YouTube. When are you going to tell me about Jesus?
That's what he said?
Yeah. When are you going to, so of course I was like,
Now, was he saying that in a skeptical way?
no, he
when are
was
you gonna-
almost offended that he had been, the piercings and the tattoos and everything, like he was, like I said, I mean, sort of an intimidating guy that had openly shared his, disbelief and not, he doesn't want anything to do with the church. He was like, why haven't you told me about Jesus? And I'm like, okay, like I'll do that. Like, what do you want me? Like, right now, we can do that right now.
I have a YouTube video you should watch.
If you saw YouTube, I mean, here, I can give you the link. Yeah, no. And we had a Jewish neighbor come into the church, one year who was, interested in Catholicism, took her to Mass, was Like, this is kind of like my upbringing. I see the relationship now. I understand Jesus. This is only logical for me to become Catholic.
Wow.
You know, the number of things. And I think the point being, you know, we want, when we look at the new evangelization and we, you know, just like everything, just like, you know, these get-rich-quick schemes, and if you just take this pill, you'll feel this way, or, you know, I think for a long time we thought the new evangelization was something that busloads of people. Well, you went to World Youth Day as a kid, so did I. 1993 in Denver.
Okay.
You know, when we talk about the new evangelization, we saw it as this like moment of, I'm giving my life to Christ, and all of these people are doing the same thing, and these massive conversions kind of quickly happening, which now we're realizing, you know, it's much less of a get holy quick thing, once and done, and it's sort of this slow burn. Yeah, it's a slow, it's a slow approach at it, you know, and I think, again, if you're, you know, we always use the term the bazooka of truth. If your idea of evangelization is meeting your neighbor, hearing what faith they come from, and then pulling out your bazooka of truth to go like, let me tell you about the Catholic Church, right? It doesn't happen that way.
It's not even hard sell and soft sell.
Right.
If someone's trying to sell you,
it's sales. It's sales.
Soft sell is so much more effective.
How do you get a guy to buy your insurance policy or anything like that?
You don't come off too strong.
No, you take them and play golf. You associate. You invite them to dinner. You talk to them. I mean, that sounds a little sleazy to talk about evangelization that way. Yeah. But it's a human interaction. It's friends first, right? Focus is so good at this. They're, you know, SPO is so good at this. Life Teen understands this. That in order to soften the heart, to receive the gospel, to be receptive to the gospel, you have to have a friend. You have to have somebody who has skin in the game to say, dude, I'm walking with you. Whether or not you choose Jesus, I'm still here. Whether or not you become Catholic, I'm still here. Whether or not I'm going to give an opportunity to share the gospel with you, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be a friend of yours. I'm still going to accompany you. And I think that, right, so if we look at these steps of, you know, what the USCCB calls formation of missionary disciples or something like that. Yeah. A teeny tiny little book, by the way. There's not a lot out there.
I never read it.
You know, it's come and see, right? I believe it goes to then follow me, right? So it's come and see and then follow me, which is those two steps oftentimes are the longest, right? To get to somebody to say like, hey, come see my life. Yeah. And now I'm going to live in a way that you're going to want to follow me, right? That I think we see that then it's, you know, then it's delivery, you know, then it's the charisma, and then it's go make disciples. Those last two portions, that's going to be the rest of our life. But in order to you know, take somebody in the world who is just hungry and thirsty and grasping at all these sorts of identities and, you know, and all the confusion that's happening in our, you know, in our culture today, you know, to get them to come over first is gonna, you know, that's a huge deal. Do they trust you? Yeah. And then that second one of, you know, follow me. You see something that you like here, you experience joy, you experience community here in my home. Well, do what I do. Follow my example. And the problem being, for so long, that follow me part has been about, you know, which the whole apologetic movement and, you know, those types of things have been, they were very beneficial for me in learning my faith, learning how to defend my faith, although you probably did a lot more of that with Catholic Answers, but I never necessarily had to do that. But so I'm not discounting that portion, right? Like we were saying, belief is both and, right? But I feel a certain call now, again, because of those victories, because of like, whoa, they really do trust me, and they really are at a certain point asking for me to share the gospel with them. What if everybody did that? And are there enough? You know, so with Delray Collective, we're going like, are there any crazies out there? You know, are there enough people?
Who want to join us?
Yeah, who want to join who want
Because
to
you
join
think, what's
up
the
with this.
alternative? The alternative to evangelizing is to either do it online where there's no actual relationship, which, as we say, we're not discrediting, or it's to do it to random strangers, which is awkward. I was at a friend's house up in Dahlonega for an overnight at his cabin, and a couple of men with ties on knocked on the door and asked me if they could share the Bible with me. I'm like, no, you can't.
No.
I'm washing up, I'm doing, I don't...
Yeah.
Now, maybe that says more about me than them, but I think most people have that reaction when strangers show up at your door and want to talk about the most fundamental things in life. So it's like, what's the alternative? The alternative is what you're doing. It's like getting to know people and loving them and not looking upon them as a project.
Yeah, the word evangelism, right? People, first thing you think of is somebody that's preaching, right? When that is not the way that gospel is transferred. That's not the good news. The good news is not just words, but it's words made flesh.
Yeah, not just words, because you think of Peter on the day of Pentecost, obviously getting up and preaching, but then there was a come and see our life.
Yeah.
There was a community.
It happens. I mean, it's why that's why the Word was made flesh, right? It's the reason for the incarnation. God became a man. God didn't become words. God didn't just become a book, right? He was there to feel and to accompany, to cry and to laugh and to celebrate and to poop.
Poop is good. Quickly, I want to ask you about the charismatic renewal, because I know you were involved in it. Were you?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well,
I know
if you were
questions
involved,
about
if you were involved
in Catholicism,
if you were involved in any of youth ministry in the early '90s, it was. All of those things were.
What is that?
Children.
For those who are watching, what's the charismatic renewal? What was it? How was it a benefit? What's your opinion on it?
Yeah. So, I don't have all the facts straight, but Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, PA. Couldn't tell you the year. Somebody out there is like, oh my gosh, he doesn't know anything.
I'll write it in the comments.
60s.
Yeah.
There's 7 of them. I do know that. The Duquesne 7. One, Ralph Martin is part of the Duquesne 7.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Super solid. For anybody who's skeptical of the charismatic renewal, they just need to
read Ralph Martin. Yeah, read Ralph Martin. They're praying for a new Pentecost. It's just a group of students praying for a new Pentecost. And what happens is what you would, normally, put in the box of Pentecostal. They begin prophesying and speaking in tongues, and they're having physical reactions, and really feel like the Holy Spirit presented itself in charismatic ways, charismatic gifts. From there, different folks get involved. Priests, Father Michael Scanlon, at Franciscan University. Other bishops, Bishop Sam Jacobs, another kind of founder of that renewal, and then communities, charismatic communities throughout the country, kind of, harkens to the day of like Jesus hippies, out in the country. We're gonna go like we've dreamed about before, just go buy some land and raise some hogs, and we can make our own clothes or whatever. So these different communities popped up all across the country. There was one here in Atlanta, one in Dallas, Ohio, Michigan. Francis University, actually, Father Michael Scanlon invited folks a part of the renewal to come and live on campus. When he took over, he basically said, he killed sports, which now they're regaining, NCAA status and stuff, and basically made every person on every dorm wing become a part of a small group. Where they would pray together and share weekly their struggles, this type of thing. So he created all these little communities, and a lot of students were like, we're out. So they were about to tank, and so in order to bring finances, balance the budget, he invited folks from the Charismatic Renewal to come in and live on campus, live in the dorms. And so they became professors, they became, janitors, they became, so there's still remnants of that at Franciscan University. So in the 70s, they start the conferences, renewal ministries, which is
wild. Back
oh
in
yeah,
the
and they were
day.
crazy. I mean, it was everything from clown masses to, I mean, well, maybe not clown masses, but clowns were there. We're not sure how much of the
maybe not specifically, but there were definitely
clowns. Yeah, you could go look at pictures. It was a lot of chains and a lot of kumbaya. Yeah,
I love it.
And a lot of incredible ministries that were born, out of the renewal.
Wow.
Renewal ministries, which is Ralph Martin's deal. Has evangelized Kenya and Uganda. I mean, they have done incredible work in Africa and in other countries. Life Teen, was born out of the renewal in the 80s.
I didn't know that.
For sure.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, you can look at Adore Ministries. That Bishop Sam Jacobs was on our. And then not to mention Franciscan University, the way that the Steubenville conferences, especially the youth conferences, have really, it's transformed so many lives in a quick way. It really has been the follow-up and the discipleship that has, created disciples. I wouldn't say that they're the best at making disciples, but they're really.
Where's the charismatic renewal now?
I would say it's in the sons and daughter ministries. I think we're living in it. I think our involvement in ministry. I think it gave a place for laity. Guys like Jim Beckman, guys like Paul George, guys like Steve Angrisano. Yeah. That Father Dave Pavanka. They were kind of front of the plow.
Right.
I don't think you and I are given a platform or a way to provide for our families had it not been for the early charismatic renewal, the guys like that were able to pave the way. I mean, Jim would say that I think he made $20,000 his first youth ministry job. Which is just absolutely insane, that they'd be willing to risk that. And then, so I think, through all of these paths, the renewal has disseminated. I think what's dangerous is when folks involved in the renewal are adamant about renewing the renewal, right? Like, there's a difference between letting the renewal do what it does and be disseminated into all the different ministries and things like that. But where it gets dangerous, in my opinion, is sort of the old guard of it has to look the same way that it was. Yeah, and because it's not going to look like that. I mean, Steubenville conferences have changed. I mean, when I was, 1994 or 5, whenever the first time I went, I saw people, the Holy Spirit kicks people. I don't know how that works out. I don't see that biblically, but okay, there were some really intense things going on.
That reminds me of a recent Steubenville conference where someone was having some sort of reaction and they were kind of crying out, and someone yells out from the bottom floor, "Kick his ass, Jesus!"
Yeah. No, that happens. Yeah, no, 100%.
Steubenville's so fantastic. I mean, they put people in front of the Eucharist. I feel like we're overly critical. We just want to criticize everything. Oh, Life Teen's too much like this.
For
Steubenville's
sure.
too much like this.
Well, again, I think it takes right, and I think it kind of goes back to the idea that we take it too seriously. We're taking all of these things too seriously, and we're pointing out, are you doing it correctly? This kind of thing.
Part of it is because we're trying to make heaven on earth, and it can't actually happen with broken, dysfunctional people.
I think there's a tendency
There's always
to create
be a brokenness in the church until the second coming.
It's people.
Yeah.
Because it's people.
And there was never an idyllic time, and there won't be.
No, right. And and you could make the argument that we're getting better, or you can make the argument that we're getting worse. But I think you're right. I think it's always been broken. We're always broken, and that's why. And again, going back to this idea that this is a field hospital.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
It's a field hospital.
Yeah.
We're not, we can't, if we're constantly critiquing and saying they're doing it wrong, or this, it's the trads' fault, or it's the liberals' fault, or it's Father James Martin's fault, or it's all, like we have this tendency to just sort of point out all these different things, and then you go,
we're looking for blood, scapegoats, man.
Right, but what about the Eucharist? What do we believe that or not? One of the things, and people might hate on me for saying this, but one of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers is this idea, they're Catholic, and they're like, they're not really Catholic. It's like, what does that mean? Because when we discount,
I think what they mean is they accept certain doctrines and deny others. So they're heretics.
If we believe the sacrament is what it is, what makes you more Catholic than me?
It's not that I could be more
Now I'm talking about
Catholic than you. It's just that certain Catholics are heretics.
Openly.
Yeah.
Right. Publicly.
Right.
Totally different.
Okay.
That doesn't make you.
It makes you in union with Christ's church in a way that someone might not be.
Right, but is it belief, or is it the sacrament that makes me in unity with you?
Well, you're in union with the church through your baptism.
Right.
But you can also be in union with the church and be a heretic. Obviously, that's the only way you can be a
So
heretic is if you were baptized.
So if I go to confession and I'm repentant of my sin, I'm a shitty Catholic. Can I say shit? Sorry.
You can say whatever you want.
I'm a really crappy Catholic.
Everyone's like, he just illustrated that he was.
Right.
Yeah.
And I go to Eucharist. And I receive Jesus, the same Jesus that you receive.
Of course.
Right. So this is my point. I mean, can I say, well, they're not really.
No, I think both need to exist. I think what you're talking about, this radical hospitality, hasn't been overemphasized, and I don't know many people who talk about it. That's why I'm so glad you exist.
Yeah.
I think you're filling something that nobody really is doing.
Sure.
So I have so much respect for what you and Kana are doing.
Right.
But at the same point, there are heretical priests and bad people who do need to be publicly corrected.
Sure.
Like, that's why I'm okay with some of the things church militant do. Even if you think, generally speaking, they create a lot of division. Yeah, well, sin does that, and pointing it out might be a better thing than let's just all be quiet and not cause scandal. Well, that's kind of what got us into this mess. So,
right, and it is, I think what's difficult is that humility and meekness just doesn't get airtime,
Totes.
We
Humility rarely goes viral.
Right. It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's a great quote.
Shrillest wins.
Tweet that. Yeah. I'll tweet it.
Yeah. I don't have Twitter. So.
The idea that God is asking us to be missionary disciples in the very ordinary, everyday,
That's what you're doing.
quiet. But here's what's tough, right? Here's what's tough is that, the airtime goes to those that are angry.
Yeah, totally.
Those that are sowing a little bit of division out there. Those that
controversial.
So when you have a guy that's saying, hey, we should probably be a little bit more open, and nobody says Francis is wrong for having a Muslim guy and a Jewish rabbi and over to eat dinner. Everybody's like, that's good, good for him. Nobody's saying that openness to a homosexual man on my porch is bad. Everybody's like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We need more of that. But when I say, let's welcome homosexuals into our church, and all of a sudden,
well, people want to know what you mean. Because
I guess what I mean is there
has been a watering down of the faith in this area,
Sure.
and there have been priests who have essentially taught the opposite. And we also live in a society where there's this major secular push to normalize it.
Well, and this would be the question.
So I think it's a natural, normal, good reaction to be like, okay, but what do you mean by that?
Right.
That makes sense?
Sure. No, 100%. And I think there needs to be, and this is the problem with Francis, right? It's like, we need a follow-up question.
Follow-ups.
We need follow-up questions. They're like, dude,
And
yeah, like,
so
and
when you
what
say
exactly,
atheists go to heaven,
right?
or when you
what
say,
do you? Yeah, exactly. What are you saying, right? You know, when you say, "Who am I to judge?"
Yeah.
Nobody discounts. Of course, you can't judge.
But what do you mean?
But what do you
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
right? So I would say this is that what we've again, those that fight, you know, those that are strong and loud and have signs and can raise a bunch of money and get viral videos going. I mean, they have the floor. When we say we want to welcome people, no matter what, no matter who you are, okay, people can go, wow, that looks like Jesus. Great, fantastic, you do that. What do you mean? Well, I think that there's a difference between being at church and being the church, right? There's these two dichotomies, right? Whereas belief and doctrine and orthodoxy and all those things are absolutely 100% important. But orthopraxy, right, happens in the ordinary, happens in the everyday.
That's what we're not emphasizing
Me being at church does not make me the church.
Yeah.
I am the church. I am most like the bride of Christ. I am most like the body of Christ when I am in my ordinary life, loving those around me, loving my neighbors as myself, right? That is clear as day. Don't get, you know. So people are creating careers for themselves, you know, not denying that it's good to be the church in your everyday, but denying people access to the church. It's like, no, but the church, being the church means, what are you doing in your everyday? So I have no idea. I'm not going to judge, you know, like the politician. Man, his career looks like, dude, you are way off. You call yourself Catholic, and you are not. Doesn't look Catholic. What do I know about his ordinary? What do I know about his relationship with his priest? What do I know about his...
Right, you can judge that Andrew Cuomo is probably a horrible human being who celebrates the murdering of people in the third trimester.
I could say
and then
this.
lights the bloody Twin Towers in
100%.
pink.
100%.
This is what pisses people off, is they're like, why aren't the bishops condemning this?
Yeah.
You know?
I also don't like war.
Oh, I'm not saying
Yeah.
war. I'm saying for the good of his soul, he should know that he might go to hell. When you start celebrating the murder
of innocent
children,
yeah, right.
like you should be warned by someone who loves you that you could go to hell.
And we have been, and exactly, and I'm 100% in agreement with that. And again, this is
How do we bring the two together?
This is that
That's
nuanced
the
thing,
problem.
right? I can't say, look, I hunt. I'm a hunter. I love, killing birds. I love dropping birds out of the sky, taking them home and eating them, right?
Sounds great.
I also recycle. I'm a conservationist too.
Right.
You know,
we can reduce the issues to 2 or 3
And so this
things.
is what I'm saying. It's like
people
to
say-
be Catholic,
Yeah.
to be a universal church, we have to see that,
People can talk about other things. Like just because
Right.
abortion is a greater evil than pornography doesn't mean I'm not called to talk about pornography. Just because pornography might
Right.
be a greater
Well,
evil
here's
than
the-
plastic straws doesn't mean you can't make an argument. I don't
Right,
know what the argument
exactly.
would be.
I mean,
but,
you can't say...
I don't. But, or be against like ivory terrorism and poaching elephants. Like,
There's
I get frustrated when
something- right,
you
there's-
try and say something and someone's like, that's not the most important issue. Like, do we all have to be protesting the most important issue? Can I not protest something that's less important?
Right, exactly, 100%. This is why I feel, again, I think everybody has their different role.
Yeah.
And for my wife and I, there is I want to humanize. I want to humanize some people. I want to say, like, you know what, like, this is important too. Immigration. This is important.
Yes.
We need to pay attention.
Yes.
Are we being as pro-life as we can be? Yes, there is a pro-life that has become, anti-abortion, pro-birth. Yes, are we anti-abortion? Are we pro-birth? Yes, 100%. We're also not serving mothers. We're also not giving people adequate housing and healthcare and, no one on welfare as well. There are other
Issues that
factors
need to be addressed by someone.
Right.
Somewhere.
A good friend of mine, Ryan O'Hara, has this great video online right now, and it's like, are we ready? So let's say we do away with Roe v. Wade. What are we going to do with all these children? We don't have enough adoptive parents and foster parents, even for the kids who are in the system right now. So are we even ready for Roe v. Wade to
And again,
end?
this is a nuanced conversation your friend wants to have, but people don't want a nuanced conversation.
Right. You don't want to talk about.
The person just wants to go, yeah, but what's he saying? Is he saying it's better that they die? No,
So
it's not
no,
what
of
he
course
said.
not. Yeah, exactly.
It's not. Can we
It's
be
right. No, I
adults?
mean, I had this experience where there was, we have a recycling bin, and I'm like, hey, just make sure you recycle, and the conversations quickly changed to like, did you vote for Obama?
No.
I'm not kidding you. Right, like that's how fast.
Some kind of fruit?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What are you talking about? Like, I show you my guns, but I'm also for gun control.
yeah.
100%. There's no. I would gladly hand over my automatic
Really?
weapon. Absolutely.
To the same guy everyone's calling a Nazi, you'd hand your guns over to him.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's funny that people on the left are saying that Trump's a Nazi and we should give him all of our guns.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's funny. Yeah,
I'm also Australian and I'm new to the gun debate.
Well, I mean,
But isn't it part of your constitution?
yeah.
Is that what you say?
But if right, the
you
amendment, the
should-
Second Amendment,
Right.
gives us the
a
right to.
well-armed militia, isn't that
Right.
the words?
But are you kidding me? Could we do any? I mean, if the government wanted to, if our government wanted to come in and seize power over my
They'd
house
have
and
a
my
whole
money,
lot less trouble if y'all had guns than if you didn't.
I need a tank.
Well, maybe
I
you
need
should be
rocket
able to have a
launchers.
gun.
No, that's
Tank.
no. I mean, I don't think. Yeah, no. I mean, that's that whole idea. Like, I'm a hunter. The only time I use my automatic weapon is when I'm hunting hogs, just because it's more fun. Like, that's it. And there is no. I don't, for my self-defense, in my home, for intruders, things like that. Completely different. There's no reason unless there's an intruder 200 yards away. I do not need my automatic rifle.
So here's where I think it gets
Semi-automatic.
really tricky, because I imagine there's good arguments that one could provide for the Second Amendment, and I know people who would, and maybe they're better than yours, maybe. But what makes me uncomfortable as an Australian is the way that I often see Catholic Christians equate Christian doctrine with American Constitution.
This is what I'm saying.
As if you can't question what a group of men have had to say regarding free speech, and I'm obviously a proponent of that. But
Right. Well, no, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, we get grouped, into these silos, and unfortunately, the Catholic storyline has been hijacked by a majority Republican right-wing, storyline. That is, we get sort of shoved into that evangelical. You're an evangelical Christian if you're a Catholic in this country, and whereas I think there are, as a Catholic, we don't follow partisan party line.
Yeah.
That's actually against our doctrine, like, because our doctrine is weaved throughout. I mean, look at the death penalty, for instance, right? Like,
I don't know if Francis is right about that.
I mean, killing people.
Don't make the spanking analogy because it's not good.
No, I will.
I don't think it's
Killing
good.
people to tell people that it's wrong to kill people is not.
That's
just
not why
logic.
we're killing them necessarily.
Yeah, that's
We
the
don't
threat.
kill people. No, yeah, but it's also, the argument has always been throughout church history that the state has legitimate power to execute criminals
Sure,
for
but
the
that doesn't-
good of the whole.
Right, but that doesn't make me as a Christian less Christian because I say I don't think we should kill that guy.
No, but it might. Right. No, it doesn't. But if you
The
were,
state-
but
sure,
if
the
you were
state-
to say that capital punishment is intrinsically wrong and can never be used in a way that's good, that would put you at odds with Christian tradition and the Bible. Like Thomas Aquinas makes this very clear. The Council of Trent makes this very clear.
Right. So
The Catechism, up until 3 minutes ago, made this clear.
Yeah. So you could make the same argument with the just war, right?
No, because just war can be waged justly, just like the Church has argued that executions can be performed justly.
Right. If there's no way to contain the person, that he won't do more harm.
Yeah, that's not the only reason the church the church has also said it can be used as a penalty.
To kill,
Yeah.
to murder.
Yes.
That's just
Well, it depends how you
anti-
define murder, but definitely kill. And if you want to say no, then when God says, if a man sheds blood, by his blood be, let it be shed,
Yeah.
then your argument is with God at that point.
I'm not less Christian. And I'm not saying I'm more Christian. That I don't want people to be killed.
Yeah, it's a blanket
But
slogan.
again,
It's
no,
so
I'm
much,
just saying,
it's way more nuanced than that.
right. But if you're in front of me,
That's like saying love is love, and I'm not a lesser Christian because I think love is love. It's like, okay, but you need to
but if I know you, you've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. We are, repentant. We've made bad choices. We think those choices that we made were bad. If a man is repentant on death row, and he's going, man, I know God. I've gone to confession. I'll die here in this prison. You would be a proponent of killing that man?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying is that as a Christian, I can look at this in a nonpartisan way to say, as a Catholic, okay, if these folks here on death row are repentant, they know they're just going to die in prison. They've done terrible things, and they're sorry for those things.
I'd still be open to the conversation. The state still has the authority to put.
And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying as a
It's an
Catholic,
interesting discussion because I haven't thought this through a great deal since since Francis has said what he said.
No, I rejoice. Yeah. I rejoice when people are given more time to repent.
Well,
I'll rejoice in that.
Yeah.
I'll rejoice that they have another shot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying release them. I'm not saying, hey, make them teachers and put them around kids.
Yeah.
Just like I would in Uncle Ted. Uncle Ted is, I'm not saying, hey, he repented, he's sorry, bring him back out, let him, go back to sin. No, none of that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we have to, as Christians, we have to constantly we're people of a second chance. And so I believe that, in my opinion, I think I share the opinion with Francis, that we have to look at the way that we treated sinners, murderers, people, very bad people
This
that have
is
made
funny.
things.
It was definitely a nod to Aquinas in the language that he used, because anyway. But so that's fine. I'm open to that. I think the distinction that must be made is between like intrinsic evil and something that's accidentally evil, right? So like if you want to say that contraception isn't intrinsically evil, then you go against what the church has taught. And intrinsically evil just means it can't be justified by surrounding circumstances. So if you want to make the case that the death penalty is no longer, what was the language that Francis used, permissible, maybe you can make that argument. But you can't say that it's intrinsically evil unless you want to go against 2,000 years of church teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's not, he didn't say that ex cathedra, he said it on a plane. Benedict,
On a plane, was it?
Probably.
I want to change the catechism. Where's a good place to do that? I don't know if that was a plane. But
yeah. No, Benedict said something similar about war. He didn't see that there was a reason for us to ever go to war again. Yeah. Because of
I don't know if you say again. He can't see the future, but
right.
But yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying because what you're trying.
Let's just have less war. Let's have less death.
No, don't do that. Yes, of course you're right, but it's too blanket.
Yeah, but why are we taking it so seriously?
War?
Yeah.
Threats.
No,
to
why
our
are you
nation?
taking it so seriously that I would say, like, hey,
because
let's just not.
I'm sick of love is love and Black Lives Matter.
You think they're platitudes?
They're platitudes, and they're nuanced. If you say Black Lives Matter, then what you might be insinuating is that there is systemic racism in the police force in America. Like, you're making that claim, and maybe you're right. I'm not even taking up a contrary position, but it's a lot more. You have a lot more to argue for. Or if you want to say love is love, you need to tell me what love means and why sodomy is natural.
Yeah, no, love is...
That's what I'm saying. So when
Olaf.
you say, how come we just have no more war? Well, of course nobody wants war.
Right.
But
Well,
there's
but there's nothing
reasons-
wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with me saying that. There's
No,
nothing wrong
there's
with me
nothing
saying
you
that
look, we would like a world without war.
and some people are just simpler.
I am.
I am.
I don't know almost
Right.
anything about anything.
So I'm just going, look, did my ancestors make some mistakes? Yes. Did they know they were making mistakes at the time? Perhaps, maybe not. Should we write checks to every, descendant of a slave? I don't know. Probably not. What we can do is just admit, start with admission and saying, hey,
who's not admitting that terrible injustices have been done to black people in this country?
Oh gosh,
terrible, wicked
there are
things. I don't know anybody.
There are people.
I'm not saying there aren't.
This
I
just
don't know
happened.
any.
I mean, this just happened. I mean, people ask, do you think that there is a rise in white supremacy, a rise in white nationalism?
There's also been rises.
Do you think
in
it's a big?
anti-Semitism
Do you think it's a problem?
Well, the New Zealand shooting seems to be
Yes.
clearly an issue.
It's a problem.
Of white
Now it's
supremacism.
global,
The
right?
problem is when you blame white supremacism and then you link it to a bunch of people who are totally against it. Like, do you know anyone who's conservative and pro-gun
No,
that is
but
cheering on
and that's what
the fact that he shot a bunch of
No,
Muslims?
of course not. And I don't.
That's what I'm not saying you said, but I think
Right.
that is what the media tries
Right,
to
but
paint.
but
with
when
a
you
broad
say,
stroke.
but not you, but when I say, hey, Black Lives Matter, or when I say there's probably, we need to start taking a look at some of this abuse of black males. Like, we need to start looking at this. Like, why is it? Look, I was caught with marijuana, as a teenager.
Yeah.
By cops. You know what they told me? Throw it. Like, literally, here's your pipe. Throw it as far as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can't say what that exact cop would have done
If you were black.
if I were black, or if I was, from Central America, if I was Latin American. I have no idea. I can't
Right.
say, I
You
can't
could have
judge
said
that
the
one
same
guy.
thing.
But the numbers don't lie.
But could it
There
just,
are
could it just
more.
be that
There are
there's certain
more
races that are
black
more
male-
engaged in...
There are more black males in prison.
Why
than
does that
anything.
have to be because there are racist police officers and judges?
Right. And I'm not. And all I'm saying is, like, we don't have. We
Maybe
don't have,
there are.
We don't
but
have
why,
to
it
say.
sounds like that's what you're saying. Like,
Right.
why can't it
And
just
that's
be
what-
that more,
Right, and
maybe
that's-
more black people are committing these certain
That's not
crimes?
true. That's just not true.
So, like,
the
in the
numbers
city of
don't lie.
Chicago, if you look just in Chicago, isn't there a lot of kind of like gun violence among black men? there?
Yes, but what are
And let's say there are more black men in prison because of that.
But go look at what has happened in this country at every. Are these black men taking semi-automatic rifles and shooting up concerts? Are these black men going into schools and
think
shooting
so.
up? No, it's all white guys.
So what's your
It's white
point?
men.
That's
All
the
I'm saying
problem. What's
is
the point?
admission. Just
Admitting what?
saying that there is a problem.
With what?
There is white
This is where we're getting to.
white nationalism
Okay,
and
but
white
not
supremacy is
right,
on the rise.
I agree that it's a problem,
Great.
and I agree that it's
That's
despicable.
where we're there. That's where we're
I
there.
agree that white
That's why
supremacy
I
is
can
despicable.
say Black Lives Matter. That's why I can say that. Now you see that, you hear that as a platitude. You hear
I
that
do
as
hear that as a
you hear that
platitude.
as just like empty. I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with saying Black Lives Matter. There's nothing wrong with me saying Red
Agreed.
Lives Matter. There's nothing wrong with
Right.
me saying. But what?
No, but if
what
you said Red
conservative-
Lives Matter in response to someone who said Black Lives Matter, they would think you were challenging them.
I think
Because
the
there's more
first
that's being
admission that
said.
we have to make is our injustices against Native Americans in this country. I think that's the people want to say that slavery was the original sin of this country, and I think that it was.
Yeah, weren't wicked things done by
Horrible.
like what's the story like?
A Trail of
smallpox
Tears.
blankets and-
Yes, I mean it's
Yeah,
absolutely.
to
and
be
if you do,
to be fair, I often try to take like a confrontational position to make these conversations more
Not
interesting
fit-
because I like
no.
to throw out the things that I
No.
hear people say in response. But
no, I
doubt,
guess what I'm saying is that don't throw me in a pro-choice camp, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The problem.
that's
The problem
interesting,
is that there are only two storylines in this country. You're either this or you're this, and the Catholic worldview is just a lot more.
It has to
It's
transcend
just
that.
it transcends that.
Yeah.
Call me a papist.
Well, that's what's interesting, right? Because I'm saying to you that I find those to be platitudes and simplistic.
And I say the same
But
thing
my
about...
response to that might be also platitudinal and simplistic, right? If I'm willing to relegate you to a particular ideology because of one line you've said, that seems to be just as simplistic as the statement you made.
Yeah, I see the pro-life movement as a platitude. I see it as I am against abortion.
Right, totally. Yeah, or like babies matter or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know anyone who's pro-choice who would overtly say I disagree.
Right. No, babies do matter.
And maybe it's just part of it just has to do with space. It's like I have to communicate.
Right. And
a quick
again,
thing.
right. This is why we feel called to do what we.
This is why long form discussions are great.
Yeah, but I mean, it's But what in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's why, because I feel like we need to get out of our silos. You know, as a Catholic person, we're responsible for loving our neighbors and listening, dialoguing. I think if you're good enough friends with your neighbor that you can have a debate and a long form, like, you're wrong. Like, this is wrong.
But I don't need to say you're evil.
Right, I don't need to say you're evil. And you're still welcome here tomorrow. You're still welcome here next week. That's where we're at. So, I want to love people. I mean, I think, and no one would say anything against that.
No,
like,
you do it well.
we're and so do y'all. I mean,
we're trying. I mean, a lot of what we're doing is because of your influence. Now we're doing our monthly gatherings and just inviting people who are weird or awkward or have same-sex attraction. Even people who are living homosexual lifestyles, like the wonderful nurse who recently took out my catheter, who was definitely shared with me that he was same-sex attracted, but in different words. I want him to come over. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah.
And just because we have a difference
and that's
just because I think that a homosexual lifestyle is immoral. Yeah, but I also think that like fornicating is immoral. But if you're I wouldn't be like, well, then you can't come to my house.
Right. Yeah. The agenda of anti-homosexual is not one that's Catholic, and I think that if we're going to be that obsessed about one specific people, then we, let's get obsessed about some other people that are doing evil things.
The reason we're obsessed about homosexual people is because it's been the huge issue for the last several years.
No, 100%.
The reason you see it dying down now is because transgender is the new thing. I think that's all it is. I think we're trying to respond to things as they rise up. I don't think it's like Catholics are obsessed with demonizing homosexuality.
Yeah.
I think it's stuff rises up in the culture and it needs to be addressed, and so it takes all our attention away from the other things.
Yeah. We're human. I think we like sex. I think we're obsessed with, we get obsessed about little things. But my point there being that, like, when we invite folks that are different over, when we sit down with them, we grow. I've never grown so much, by just like biting my tongue, listening, being present, accompanying, and just saying, we love you. Like, with your weird, like, all of your weird is okay in my house. So all of your, and in that way, we feel, back to what we were originally saying, that this is the perfection that God is calling us to behave more and more like Him, who gives rain and sunshine and all of these blessings on our life, regardless of our behavior. It sounds so bad. But that is literally the way that He loved the guy putting the nails in his feet, the same that He loved the woman who washed His feet. That type of love is
easy to talk about. Difficult
totally,
to do.
and obviously,
and that's what you're doing.
Way
this is like it's a very
done.
Christian response because it's humble and it's. We all want to have big plans to save the world. We keep telling everyone else why they need to change.
Yeah,
wrap up.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys are doing these small concrete things.
Cool.
So thanks for being on the show.
Loved it, man. Awesome.